through the roundabout, but as you head over to the city center, then it's just again a smooth sailing. So again, also what this means is that if you're coming also from Moyakiwe, just as I had mentioned, and you're going to the city center through the university roundabout, then it's not that bad. What you just have to make do with is the traffic around the roundabout, but also the beauty of it is that it's just only on specific parts around the roundabout. The better part after the roundabout is just again all moving at a really fast pace, and that is why you're seeing that green color there. A bit of a traffic gridlock and traffic just beginning to slightly build up on that lane that is leaving CBD through the roundabout, going all the way to State House Road, as well as on the other side of Uhuru Highway, and also on this other side of Uhuru Highway that goes all the way to Kenyatta Avenue roundabout. That is just where traffic begins to slightly build up, and it's very important for me to say slightly build up because this is why there's that orange color there, and you can clearly see it's just a small section there where coming from Global roundabout, coming from Center, going to the other Uhuru Highway, that is through Kenyatta Avenue, Haile Selassie, Nyayo Stadium, all the way to Mombasa Road, or even on the other side, Upper Hill, as well as Valley Road, and you're using this specific route, then you just have to make do with the traffic on that specific lane. Actually, on that, this is just a small section before you get to the roundabout, because that is just where traffic begins to slightly build up. So it looks like, yes, beginning to build up, but at least a manageable kind of traffic there. Past the roundabout, still through, sticking with Uhuru Highway, it has changed again, moving at a pretty slow pace, slightly past the roundabout, but at least the major parts of the road all through this stretch, no traffic at all. And this is again specifically on that lane of the other side of Uhuru Highway. This is actually as you head over to University Way roundabout, leaving Kenyatta Avenue, leaving Haile Selassie. On that specific lane, that is just where there's green indicating. So what this means is that if you are coming from Nyayo Stadium, if you're coming from Haile Selassie, from Kenyatta Avenue, using Uhuru Highway, going about, or even University Way roundabout, even still through the roundabout, going all the way to Wayakiwe, then it is smooth sailing, no traffic at all. Traffic just on the other lane as you head over to the other side of city center. But again, it's quite expected, because on this specific lane heads you over to the city center through Kenyatta Avenue roundabout, heads you over as well to the CBD through Haile Selassie Avenue roundabout, and as well as just going all the way to the Nyayo Stadium roundabout, all the way to Mombasa Road. So it doesn't really look that bad this morning. So ultimately, again, we'll just keeping tabs, on this specific route, this stretch, try to see how it's doing, because it doesn't really look that bad as how we'd expect it to look like. So probably we'll be seeing how in the next link up segment, how it will be looking like, and if at all, if there'll be any heavy traffic gridlock, especially for those that are using Uhuru Highway this morning, then definitely we'll be looking for some alternative routes for you, for those going about their businesses and activities this morning hour. But as of now, this is actually how it's looking like along Uhuru Highway, specifically on that roundabout. Not that bad. This is how it's looking like this hour. Thank you very much for that update on what is happening on our major roads at exactly 8 minutes past 7 o'clock. Our Traffic Marshal A1 Doreen Arange is going to be keeping tabs on what is going to be happening on our major roads in the course of this particular broadcast. Now we focus on stories that have been making headlines in the last 24 hours. I have my copy of the Standard, and in the headlines we start off with what has been captured, or rather what captured the eyes of the scribes this morning. This is how the front page of the Standard looks like on the 10th day of September 2020. Right there, it's all about matters health, where Kenya approves the first COVID-19 vaccine trials. Now, approval opens doors for Oxford University developed vaccine to be tested in the quest to determine safety and ability to generate protection against the virus. Details will be coming up in not too long. But the main read on the issue of the Standard this morning is a shock as state plans to stop varsity funding. Now, this is going to have a ripple effect on the quality as well as the courses that are going to be offered in these tertiary institutions. We're paying for students. Radical changes afoot as government plots to cut support for hundreds of university courses not considered up or rather priority areas for development under Vision 2030. Some of the courses, however, that are going to continue getting funding is computing and information technology, law, tourism and hospitality, as well as actuarial, manufacturing, aviation, education arts, education science, medicine and surgery, medical laboratory, nursing, pharmaceutical science. It's a clear indication that from this particular list, an overview of the courses that are going to be funded is that we have given precedence on matters of health as well as matters of law, ICT, and manufacturing and agriculture. One can say we are focusing so much on Vision 2030 that can also borrow from the Big Four agenda. Crossing over to matters business is that we have details in regard to what government concessions that the concessions that were made by government to have Talo resume its operations after a 3-month delay in Turkana. As well, on a national issue, remember, taxpayers could now lose R1 billion in a project to make new high-tech number plates. And this is after the state floated a new tender despite having procured materials for the same job a few years back. Okiom Tata, the human rights activist, went to court. We'll have details of that and so much more.
Let's now get to have a look at the front page of the Daily Nation today, with the big read being a governor's plan to take over power. And this is in regards to the role that governors have been playing in running their counties. And in this particular story, it looks at how capable they are to take up the big seat, that is the presidency seat. We'll be giving you details of how this story has been approached here on the Daily Nation. And the top there of the Daily Nation, loose tongues. Kenya's long list of leaders who have put their foot in their mouths before. We'll be giving you details of this, and of course this comes on the background of the recent statements by Ngeno and Sudi. Now, still looking at the front page of the Daily Nation, the picture therein are the anti-corruption agency officers who raided KEMSA yesterday in what was termed as a 7-hour siege at the KEMSA offices in the industrial area parts of Nairobi. This also comes on the background of the 12 billion that is said that could have been lost in the purchase of medical equipment supplies for counties, a project that was termed by a Senate investigation committee as a criminal enterprise designed to enrich individuals. We will be giving you details of that particular story as we continue with this segment. And one interesting bit here still on the front page of the Daily Nation. This is a part of the stories that are here on the Daily Nation concerning national news, and is that graft, when it comes to graft, governors now want to withdraw adverts, and this was specifically put out by the head of the COG when he was saying he wants his members to stop advertising with the Nation Media Group because of its coverage of corruption in county governments. We will be giving you how details of this particular story and how this particular sister media house is being, as they're saying, being targeted by governors because of how they have been highlighting graft stories in the recent past.
Of NMG still finds its way on the Star this Thursday morning. The main header just reading that media owners protest as COG blocks ads to Nation Media Group of graft story. Continue to say that the Media Council has strongly criticized governors for threatening to stop advertising with NMG after it published a graft story that adversely named their colleagues. But we'll be unpacking more of that, try and see what the rules are between NMG and the COG there inside the paper when we get to that. Also on the Star this morning, there's a header just saying Gatia linked to 63 billion medical equipment deal. Still, the KEMSA wars continues, saying that the Megascope is among firms that landed lucrative KEMSA contracts worth more than 1 billion Kenyan shillings. This story has been well fleshed out from page 4 through 5 of the Star this morning. On the sidebar, we have pressure mounts to the president to give State of the Nation address. He normally does this between the month of March and May, but that didn't happen due to the COVID-19 crisis, and now pressure is mounting, saying that they need him to issue a State of the Nation address, at least to deliver that this year. So will that really happen? Again, we'll be seeing more of that, trying to see what has been written inside the paper. At the top of the paper, on Matters Business, honored Equity CEO James Mwangi wins Oslo Business for Peace Award. That is the Equity Chief Executive Officer, but we'll be seeing what exactly he did to make him win this award when we get to more of what is inside the Star this morning.
Now we start off with giving you details of trending stories or stories that have captured our interest in the last 24 hours. Is that now? The big read on the Standard this morning is that state proposes to only fund varsity students pursuing priority courses. Yes, you heard right. So that particular course that you had intended to pursue or are pursuing might not be considered priority then. What direction to take? Now, apparently, thousands of university students could be in for this particular shocker. The proposed reforms will also extend to students in private institutions, where consideration will be given to universities that have the sole capacity to offer prescribed programs. Now, under the new changes being pushed by vice chancellors and universities fund would see universities only receive state-sponsored students in niche courses. Now, the fields of study relevant for Vision 2030, education, health, environment and water, population and housing, as well as youth, gender and sports. These courses, relevant academic fields include education, nursing, medical, creative arts, sports science. The list is endless here, according to this particular article that has been captured on the Standard this morning. That is page 2. You can get your copy and get to see if the course that you're pursuing or you intend to pursue is considered a priority course or not, and the direction that this is likely to take. Now, the proposed amendments by the funds supports the VC's report that says government capitation under the DUC formula as presently implemented fails short by 60% of expected funding. Now, universities will also be expected to initiate income-generating projects to shore up their revenue streams to plug the funding gaps.
Now let's have a look at this particular main story on the front page of the Daily Nation regarding governors and more so governors who are on their second term as the specific governors for their counties. And in this regard, they're being referred to as a possibility of a third force when it comes to the presidential race. And it is now, as it has been written here, that with the deep regional networks that they have established over the 10-year period that they have been governors in their specific counties, they are coming up as potential strong running mates for the presidential seat and of course putting up quite the competition for other contenders, with some of them saying that they are now hoping to front their own bids for the high office. Now it is said that this run for the 2022 presidency has opened up the political landscape, as now leaders who have been running mates since 2007, the likes of Musalia Mudavadi, Deputy President William Ruto and Kalonzo Musyoka, they are all in the race to succeed him, with still the conversation still revolving around Mr. Raila Odinga, who some are saying that his campaign team is now searching for a running mate as he sets himself for a 5th attempt at the presidency. But governors who have been put on the spotlight as being a potential front runners and putting on their own bids in regards to the high office, a group that has also been termed as a third force, include the likes of Governor Alfred Mutua of Machakos, Makueni Governor as well, Kivuda Kibwana, and Kakamega Governor Wycliffe Oparanya. The three have been termed as a force to reckon with, and the talks reveal the possibility that they may be featured in the 2022 presidential race with their own putting themselves, throwing their names rather in the hat for the presidency come 2022. Now they are being termed as a third force, as I had mentioned, and they're saying to be putting up quite the force because over the 10 years that they have been running their counties, it is possible for them to replicate how they have run their counties to a national level and take the country to the next level when it comes to development, issues to do with employment and security, the three that have been highlighted here to be of heavy prominence when it comes to how counties and the counties are run and what the country needs.
Okay, let's look at another interesting story which also was on the front page of the Star on the sidebar there, and this is in regards to what the CAS Health said yesterday as it pertains to the vaccine trials, the COVID-19 vaccine trials. The main caption just saying that 4,000 to be recruited for COVID-19 vaccine trials. Continues to say that the Health Ministry has now said that 4,000 Kenyans will be recruited to take part in a phased clinical trials for a COVID-19 vaccine candidate, saying that the health CAS, that is Rashid, said yesterday that trials will be done in collaboration with the Oxford University, that is in the UK. And he also further continued to say that all protocols have actually been observed and finalized, and the country is ready to start out. And just quoting what he said there is that we are on track with the trials, which are at phase 3, which is already advanced, and we shall recruit some Kenyans to undertake part in this trial. So for those Kenyans who might be wondering that is everything put in place? Are the protocol observed? He has just mentioned there that all protocols have already been observed. And as a country, he says that we are ready to take part in these trials, which is going to be in collaboration with the Oxford University, that is in the UK.
Now shifting gears and focusing on the political scene, where debate on succession politics of 2022 is taking center stage. Now, Raila is on a charm offensive of the coastal region beginning today, where he'll be joined by other top officials and ODM leaders, including Mombasa Governor Hassan Joho. He will also engage youths and professionals under the auspices of Kikao Youth Movement to discuss opportunities and investment for young generation. Captured there on the Standard is Raila in a coast charm offensive beginning today. Now, in a quick rejoinder of sorts, or just making a comment in regard to the premiers and ODM leader's visit to the coastal region, Mombasa Governor Ali Hassan Joho said he will not be distracted by Deputy President William Ruto's frequent visit to the coast. He says, and he has criticized Ruto allies, claiming they wanted to drag him in their 2022 politics, and warned that he would not engage in such side shows. Now, this development comes in the wake of, a change in shift in the Third Way Alliance Party that expelled its leader, Ekuru Aukot, over misappropriation of funds. Now, they say the leader misappropriated funds amounting to 500 million shillings. The Third Way Alliance National Executive Committee adopted the report of the party's disciplinary committee, which found Ekuru Aukot guilty of causing chaos when he was asked to account for the missing funds. The party has then appointed Angela Mwikali as the acting party leader in the interim. Kevin Washira puts this political dynamics into perspective in a report he compiled yesterday. Well, now remember, you can get more details in regard to these particular stories on our website, that is www.kbc.co.ke. Still on matters politics is that the Migori County Assembly Speaker Boaz Okoth has recorded a statement with the police alleging that his life is in danger, even as the county assembly sittings ended prematurely for the second day. Now, Okoth is in adjourning the sittings, issued a 5-minute emotional speech in which he alleged attempts on his life, attacks on his home, and external influence in Migori County affairs. Now, this comes at a time when Governor Okoth Obado maintained that his purported impeachment was malicious. Details to follow, or you can get them first at the touch of a button on our website.
Now let's go on to matters concerning the health sector here in our country, and we'll start with the raid that took place yesterday at the KEMSA offices, a 7-hour siege as it was referred to. So yesterday, detectives from the Anti-Corruption Commission did give a surprise raid at the KEMSA offices in the industrial area, and they are said to have come in through the entrance that the employees, the staff there usually use, so it was rather unexpected. And they went in and spent close to 7 hours combing through the place and looking for clues that could help them unravel the COVID-19 supplies scandal. And this move by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission came after KEMSA had failed to submit details of people who won the controversial COVID-19 tenders and pocketed billions and billions of taxpayers' money. Now, during this siege at the KEMSA offices, There was no movement in or out of the premise, and this included any staff or visitors who were either caught in this raid within the building. They were not allowed out of the building until around 1 p.m. when the officers are said to have left that particular institution, and with them they did leave with electronic data, computers and other documents that they insist are going to help them in the ongoing investigations in regards to the COVID scandals. But it was, however, not clear why the investigators had to conduct this raid at the drug suppliers' offices, given that a month ago the top executives had recorded statements over the financial scandal that is unfolding at the agency to date. Now, that is what happened yesterday, but also this is still in line with this other particular story here on the Daily Nation, where Kenyans are said to have lost approximately 12 billion Kenya shillings in medical kit projects to the county. And now the spotlight is now on the health ministry, where it is said that there was a supply that costed 1.4 million Kenya shillings, and you multiply it by 1,667, which is according to the market price of this particular project kits that was supposed to go to the counties. However, the purchase the total was coming to about 12 billion Kenya shillings, and this purchase you say that it could potentially be lost when it comes to the purchase of this medical equipment for the counties. And this project is now being termed as a criminal enterprise that was designed to enrich some individuals, with senators not being able to quantify the amount that was lost in contracts that were awarded to them back in February for the initial 43.6 billion. But according to independent inquiries, it now shows that the value that was specialized for some of these equipments was inflated between 3 to 8 times of the original prices for this particular medical project kits. You can get details of this grand scandals, as has been highlighted here, on the national news segment of the Daily Nation, and especially involving the health ministry.
Ministry and the KEMSA was now the CEO of Megascope, who still doubles up as the president of the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Mr. Ngatia is now linked to the 63 billion medical equipment deal. Just continues to say that a firm that got over 1 billion contracts for COVID-19 medical supplies is now at the center of this 63 billion medical kits scandal that senators say was conceived like a criminal enterprise. Just continue to say that a damning report by the Senate says that Megascope Healthcare Limited, a firm associated with Mr. Ngatia, was part of that ripoff and should now be investigated by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. So that is just a statement there by senators saying that this firm should actually be investigated because is at the center of this 63 billion Kenyan shillings scandal, as it involves the COVID-19, money that has been squandered there. Still keeping up with matters COVID-19, and in regards to what was also mentioned yesterday as how matatus are now becoming a weak link in the fight against COVID-19. The main caption just saying politicians, matatus hurting virus fights. Continue to say that this industry and politicians are hampering the efforts to fight the COVID-19, and this is a statement that was given by the health ministry. The CAS said that matatus and buses are now overloading passengers, putting them at risk of catching or even spreading this virus. And he just made an appeal, and he said that to our people in the public and the transport sector, they need to actually cooperate with the government and not to allow their matatus and buses to be the weak link in the fight against this virus. More of what he's saying is that people have done away with this issue of social distancing. People have done away with the issue of sanitizing when it comes to public transport. And his appeal there is just that they need to at least make sure that they abide to the COVID-19 protocols.
Before we take a short break, just to give an overview, is that the Crucial Level 4 hospital has no room for male patients. This is according to Igembe South, a member of parliament, Paul Mirige, who says the Nyambene Level 4 hospital in Meru County has no ward for women. Details about more stories making headlines within the counties as well as matters business will be coming up in not too long. We take a short break.
this Thursday on KBC Channel 1 for a program that is objective and offers answers to matters economic, security, social, political, food, infrastructure, and setting the agenda. Join us for Charging Currents.
It is a practice that has been a thorn for this nation for many decades. Watch it on Thursday at 8:30 p.m. only on KBC Channel.
Next on.
Steve, didn't tell you I'm busy.
Hapana.
So what do you want?
Kwani umeandika kwa kasi huku?
Hapana, lakini kuna venye naona kuna dalili.
Oh, basi hiyo dalili ndio leo tutaenda tukule na tulipage nayo nyumba.
Let's make you sausages.
Yay!
Sungeacha nimfixie juu nikauta wax.
Do you even know your job description here?
But do your duties.
Sawa.
Did you just humiliate me in front of a servant?
Did I?
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
You should never gamble with what you can't afford to lose.
All I'm interested in is making money. For you and me. Buckets of money.
You're Kenny Shipper.
Paulie, I can't be driving around in no electric limo.
Closer. Don't touch it.
It's just not me, Paulie. I've got an image to protect.
Thank you for joining me today, Mr. Rick.
Well, how can I possibly resist?
Oh, by saying no.
Oh.
My best friend Kenny lost $1.5 million of your dad's money.
What? I'm wiped out!
I just want to be your friend.
I don't need any more friends.
Put it down. Put it down!
He is one of the greatest players of all time who secured the 5th FIFA World Cup title for the Samba Boys of Brazil with the formidable team of Ronaldinho, Rivaldo, and Roberto Carlos.
Cleberson's role is central, inviting ball in. Clever sidestep from Rivaldo. One touch Ronaldo, 2 touches, and it may well be our Wiedersehen Germany.
It is another epic match starring the goal-scoring phenomenon Ronaldo this Saturday at 5 p.m. on KBC Channel 1 as he shut down the German machine with his magic in the 2002 final. Only on KBC Channel 1, Soca Finest.
Time for our next link this morning. Like I mentioned, our focus this Thursday is just on Uhuru Highway, and I'm seeing a bit of a change. It's unlike what it was on the first link-up segment. Look at this. This is actually on that lane that is coming to the city center. Before I go through the other side of Uhuru Highway, just traffic at a standstill. It was not like this in the first couple of minutes after 7 a.m. Right now it's just like 30 minutes, around 32 minutes past 7, and this is how it is actually looking like. So what this also means is that if you are coming again from Globe, if you're coming from city center, from Koja, using this specific route through Uhuru Highway, going all the way to Kenyatta Avenue, to Haile Selassie, going all the way to Nyayo Stadium roundabout, then I can tell you for sure, then you will just have to make do with this traffic on this particular stretch. It is one of those stretch where oftentimes, especially in the early morning hour, tends to get a bit busy because then again through the roundabout on the other side of State House Road, also through the roundabout on the other side of Uhuru Highway, heading all the way to Wayaki Way, and also again through the roundabout going to the other side of Uhuru Highway on those roundabouts that I've just mentioned earlier. So look at this. This has changed, and oftentimes it keeps saying that traffic changes every single minute. So on this particular stretch, this is just how it's looking like, not moving at all. This is why this is what this maroon color indicates there. But also, I can assure you that I can, bet that the traffic police are also just normally here, and they are probably here trying to see how best they can control traffic. Because again, also on the other stretch, this is still through the roundabout as you head over to the other side of Wayaki. We're still around University roundabout, moving at a pretty slow pace. But it's often I mean, it's just like what you'd expect to see, especially through roundabouts. Oftentimes quite busy, and because of the usual, or the is no different from this specific one, and this one connects to major roads. I've just already mentioned the roads to you that this specific one connects to, so this is again why I would expect to see what we are seeing. But it's quite interesting because on the other side, on the other stretch as it heads over to State House Road, on that specific one, there's no traffic at all. You can clearly see from the colors that you're spotting there, the green all through, indicating that there's no traffic moving at a pretty fast pace. Also, what this means is that if you are coming from the city center through the roundabout and you want to go to Valley Road or going to the other side of Upper Hill, then you can use this as an alternative route. So what this means is that instead of coming through Uhuru Highway, branching off through the Kenyatta Avenue roundabout, going all the way to Valley Road, if at all that is your route, then you can just use the roundabout, go through State House Road and branch off to the other side of Valley Road, because on particular stretch all through there's no traffic at all. And the interesting bit is that this is actually on both lanes of along this route. This is actually the State House Road. There's no traffic at all, moving at a really fast pace. So if at all you're going to Valley Road, then you can use that as an alternative route instead of using this particular stretch, because on this one there's traffic all through the entire lane. Actually, after you leave the roundabout, just coming through Uhuru Highway on that specific stretch, traffic beginning to build up there. But again, it's just a minimal, a small stretch, but building up all through. That's why we are seeing the orange color there, but this is also on both lanes. So what that means is that it is actually on that lane that is leaving the roundabout, going all the way through that stretch as you head over to Kenyatta Avenue, as well as also on the other side, leaving the avenue, the Kenyatta Avenue, going again through University Way roundabout. So that's how it's looking like this morning on this particular stretch. And also through the Kenyatta Avenue roundabout is just no different from what you're seeing around the University Way roundabout. Remember, I said that this morning our focus will be on Uhuru Highway, and this specific highway, it's one of those busy highways, especially in Nairobi City, begins all the way from University Way roundabout, and that's why we were checking to see how that roundabout is doing, and it goes all the way to the Nyayo Stadium roundabout. So there's also a couple of roundabouts in between, major ones as well as just some minor ones there, but around the Kenyatta Avenue roundabout also no different from how University Way was looking like. But again, the reasoning is just still the same. This specific one connects to a number of roads, and in the next link up we'll be trying to see how this specific one will be doing in terms of traffic. But Uhuru Highway itself doesn't really look that bad as how we'd expect to see that road to be looking like. But if at all you're going to Valley Road, then State House Road could be one of those routes that you could clearly use as an alternative route. But for this next link, this is actually how our roads are looking like in terms of traffic, again this Thursday morning.
Thank you for that update. Now we focus on stories that made headlines in the last 24 hours or are even making headlines as we speak. Now, there have been a lot of questions in regard to Kenya's capacity in as far as infrastructural development is concerned. Now, one particular story has revealed that the government failed to competitively seek a contractor to build the 500 billion standard gauge railway, as it had no means to finance it. Our hands were tied in regard to the SGR tender there, says Kenya Railways. Now, in a court filing, which now details why Kenya Railways Corporation stuck with China Railway and Bridges Corporation, despite queries on whether Kenyans got value for money and failure to follow the procurement rules, a rejection by World Bank to finance the multi-billion project and the cost being more than its approved budget led it to the predicament of it is now trying to entangle itself from. Now, the judges found that KRC, which was the implementer of the project on behalf of the government, headhunted the Chinese corporation as a contractor before Kenya and China's Exim Bank sealed their financial deal, which is against the procurement law and constitution. Now, this shows that KRC there is rather culpable for those procurement flaws, amid questions on whether Kenyans got value for money in that particular project. This revelation comes barely a few days after Kenya was named along other African countries, including Ghana, in a report from the UK that indicated that there were plans to construct a military base within these particular countries. Now, Kenya has not confirmed or denied that particular report and will be keeping tabs on that particular story. Any developments, you're sure going to get them.
All right, now let's go back to the Daily Nation and look at this particular story about MPs who have been termed to have loose tongues. Now, and this particular piece takes us back in history, just looking at a few leaders who have found themselves in trouble because of utterances that they have made on public platforms. And looking at Kenya's political landscape, it is repeal with court jesters who shot to infamy for their toxic tongues and misguided missions to defend their kings. Now, let's go back in history, as has been highlighted here, or rather, let's start from the most recent utterances dating back to as far back as President Moi's rule. Emururwa Dikir MP, that is Johanna Ngeno, and his Kapsabet counterpart Oscar Sudi have now sparked outrage with their utterances that have made Deputy President William Ruto, in whose name they were protesting, to disown them. Now they join a long list of loudmouths whose words have come to haunt them to date. Now, there was once Peter Hebenga Okondo, whose zealous defense of President Daniel Arap Moi prompted him to warn Archbishop Alexander Muge not to set foot in Busia. And in his own words, he said, "As you will see fire and may not live alive." Now, the Archbishop was later killed on his way from Busia the following day, and as a result, Okondo resigned from his cabinet position, and it is said that he died a disgraced man. Others who come to mind in regards to this particular forms of expression include Kehika Kimani, Karaoke Chotara, Sharif Nasir, and Wilson Letich, and the latter being infamously known for the 1990 order on KANU youth wingers in Nakuru, when he actually told them to cut off the fingers of multi-party crusaders and their supporters. Then there is also the famous Ruben Dolo, who is known for this sentence, "Ukiona wekataya." Last year, we also had Nandi Senator Samson Cherargei, who was arraigned for incitement, where he was reportedly quoted saying, "We are profiling them and we will deal with them as and when the time comes." And he was apparently referring to Deputy President William Ruto's detractors. Now, these remarks against these recent scathing remarks against President Kenyatta, his mother and father by Mr. Sudi, have now put the Deputy President on the spot, and he responded to this whole situation through a tweet where he said, "Leaders should exercise restraint and avoid insults against other Kenyans, and savoury words used against mothers and the head of state is a no-no, and no amount of any anger justifies the use of offensive, insulting language. And there are decent ways to communicate however one feels." However, according to Jubilee Secretary General, that is Raphael Tuju, he said that the magnitude to which these two lawmakers' statements went, it calls for the DP to publicly condemn them beyond a tweet. Also contributing to this whole conversation was Francis Atwoli, where he was quoted saying, "We have heard the Deputy President say he will not attack President Uhuru Kenyatta directly, but the people who are abusing the head of state are his foot soldiers. What is the difference?" However, now we have MPs, we have other leaders, that is including Kalwale and Mudhama, who are now saying that Ruto should not be made to apologize on behalf of the two, as he wasn't responsible for what these two members did say.
Now, as things stand, just something that has come up is that now the World Health Organization have somewhat been forced to, accept that a new polio outbreak in Sudan has been linked to an ongoing vaccine that has sparked epidemic in Chad a week after the UN Health Agency declared Africa, the African continent, free of the wild polio virus. That is what is happening currently in this time.
From the Daily Nation, let's come to the Star, and this is just a statement from the Senate committee where they want a team to be formed to handle inhumane arrest of lawmakers. This in regards to the 3 senators who had been arrested some time back. There's the Bomet Senator Christopher Langat, Samburu Senator Steve Lelegwe, and Kakamega Senator Cleophas Malala. So what the committee wants is that a parliamentary service commission to establish a security liaison office to handle all issues regarding MPs and security agencies to eradicate this inhumane arrest of the members. And I've just mentioned 3 of them, the 3 senators there. This was recommended by the Senate National Security Committee that investigated the recent dramatic arrest of these 3 senators. So they also tabled a report on the floor on Tuesday, and the committee was chaired by Garissa Senator Yusuf Haji, saying that the team will handle all security matters pertaining to members of parliament, including summons to appear before law enforcement agencies. Their plea is that there needs to be a better way to arrest lawmakers and avoid the inhumane arrest of these lawmakers. Now, to that story that was again on the front page of the Star, this is in regards to the president giving the State of the Nation address. As I had mentioned, this normally happens between the month of March and May, but due to COVID-19, this hasn't happened, and now pressure is mounting on the president to give the State of the Nation address for this year, that is 2020, where he is to deliver this, where he normally delivers this year's State of the Nation address, and the president in the past actually gives this address between March and May. However, due to COVID-19, this has not happened. And Article 132 of the Constitution obligates the president to address a joint sitting of the houses on matters that touches on national values. There's also been some statement from members, a case in point there, that is the Kikuyu Member of Parliament, that is Kimani Ichung'wah, on Tuesday said that the president should urgently address and speak on matters of the state of the country's economy. And also this article has just highlighted part of what Kenyans would also expect if at all this address would happen, is that Kenyans are just expecting that if at all this will happen, then he also needs to address on Kenyans on better plans to restore the economy. So not just on the way forward, or not just to speak on the country's economy, but also what are the plans to restore or resuscitate the economy. That is some of Kenya's expectations if at all this State of the Nation address will happen, given the fact that pressure is already mounting on the president for him to give this year's State of the Nation address.
Now, when it comes to addressing the nation, and in this particular angle, looking at the role of the media as setting the agenda for the nation, it seems that the Nation Media Group has found itself in some bit of trouble, and especially involving the Council of Governors, as now the Council of Governors the head of the Council of Governors said that, they're now declaring war against NFG for how they have been highlighting graft stories. And getting into the details of this particular story is that the Council of Governors yesterday threatened to pull adverts from the Nation Media Group following its sustained exposure of corruption down in the counties. So the action by the by the governors sparked outrage, of course, with the representatives of the journalistic fraternity. These are the Media Council of Kenya, the Media Owners Association, and the Kenya's Editors Guild, condemning it as a serious threat against the independence of this media. Now, in a statement that was issued, the COG chairman, Wycliffe Oparanya, said that they were unhappy with the Daily Nation's report of the impending arrest of a number of governors, that is 8 governors who were highlighted on the Daily the day before yesterday, and it is saying over alleged abuse of office. And he was quoted saying, these were the words of Governor Oparanya, that we resolve that henceforth no county government shall advertise with the Nation Media Group until the situation is rectified. I therefore urge all county governments to immediately cease engaging with NMG merchandise and avoid county officers about this until further notice. Now, he said this during a statement that he made yesterday, and this comes as one of the most one of the most serious threats against independence of the journalistic fraternity, and now the governors are now promising not to stop there. Now, in response to this, Or rather, he further went on to say that any other media house that will carry salacious stories which about governors without verifying and therefore misinforming the public and portray the governors in negative light without any truth will face similar treatment as the NMG fraternity has faced. Now, yesterday, MCSK, the media watchdog, asked governors to follow proper channels when it comes to filing their complaints in regards to any issues that they may be having with any media house. And in response to this, the Chief Executive Officer of the Media Council of Kenya said that the COG cannot in its own accord term the media as unprofessional. Such actions amount to taking the law into their own hands and proceeding to pronounce judgment on an issue that is not made to prosecute. End of quote. He further went on to say that the correction would be for the COG to lodge its complaint with its complaint to the Media Council of Kenya to determine the matter, which under guided ethical codes of journalism as appended in the media law of Kenya. Now, this has not been taken so lightly, especially on the social media platforms, because people are saying you will not gag the media when it comes to your wrongdoing and being exposed for it.
Well, I think the Council of Governors is overworking, but hey, that's just my opinion. Now, still keeping up with what the Council of Governors is up to is that Oparanya has false an order to bar county bosses from office. Yes, you've heard that right. Now, in a statement, the Council of Governors Chair Wycliffe Oparanya said the court ruling to bar officials facing graft charges was selectively targeted at governors. Now, Oparanya said other leaders facing similar charges continued to access their offices even as governors were being locked out. He says this is not the case for MPs who had once been arrested and had promptly presented in court presented in court and bail issued. MPs are also not barred from accessing their CDF offices or parliament. The governors further claimed that they were victims of a political witch hunt by senators. Is it? Well, we'll be keeping tabs on what is happening in that particular legislative arm. Remember, senators pitted against governors, and governors, pitted against MCAs and such. That is what is happening within those particular devolved units. Now, Oparanya false order to bar county bosses from office.
And this story of governors, Council of Governors and NMG still finds its way on the Star. It was also on the front page of the same paper with the main caption just reading protest as governors block adverts to NMG. And just a highlight of that is that the Media Council is now strongly criticizing governors for threatening to stop advertising with NMG after it published a graft story. But you can pick whatever copy that best suits you to get details of that specific story and whatever it is they have highlighted there. Now, coming to matters education, there has been a lot of raffles in regards to when schools should reopen. First of all, it was said that it was going to be reopened in January. Later on reports coming that it should be reopened in November. And now parents want schools reopening case in open court. And this specific one is just saying that a parent who filed a petition seeking to compel Education CS George Magoha to reopen schools now wants the case to be heard in an open court. The petitioner has already written his request to the CJ, that is David Maraga, and in a letter dated September 7th, that is the petitioner actually Joseph Aura says on August 25th, 2020 says that the Justice James Macau certified the matter as an urgent matter and granted conservatory orders in the motion. Through the lawyers, that is Harrison Kinyanjui, the petitioner says that his request is made so that the public interest is maintained with the expectations of the constitutional principles. And this again is just in regards to that issue of when exactly should schools reopen. Now, a parent just petitioning that case in court saying that it is actually a matter that needs to be heard in court when it comes to when schools should reopen.
Now, as we draw this particular segment to a close, there's one very interesting story right here. And this is in regards to a young couple whose love has triumphed over retrogressive beliefs. Now, this particular story is a story of two young people who are in love and are going against all odds that are culturally set in place to stop them from, continuing with their union. So pictured therein is them during their wedding ceremony. But looking at the back story is that This particular young man, when he was going to ask for the lady's hand in marriage, that is Zachary Chacha, as he was going to ask for his partner's hand in marriage, that is Mary Changwa, he went to the parents' home with 4 cows, 2 goats, and some money looking for this girl's hand in marriage. But when he got there, the girl's parents refused to give her hand in marriage, saying that they wanted their daughter to undergo circumcision before embarking on this marital journey. According to them, she is still a young girl, and she's aged 21, by the way. She is still a young girl, and until she undergoes the cut, that is when she will be considered a woman and ready to be handed off in marriage. So when this young man went with his kindred, his parents, and the rest of his family representatives to go deliver the dowry and ask for the hand in marriage, they were turned down, and the angry parents told them that they will not at any cost agree to this union until this young girl undergoes the cut. Now, earlier on in the year, it is said that Mary had fled her home around February. She had fled her home in Korea East and took relief at a nearby rescue center after learning that there were plans to subject her to the cut. And since then, she had stayed at the rescue home up until she met this young gentleman, that is Zachary, where they grew to know each other and eventually got into a relationship. And finally, when they decided to get married, this young man organized his side of the family and decided to put together a package to go and ask for this young girl's hand in marriage. And according to this young man, his parents were very supportive because they are anti-FGM, as opposed to this young girl's parents who are pro-FGM in this day and time. And they say that they will not, at any cost, give their daughter's hand in marriage until she undergoes the cut. Ray?
Age 21.
Yes.
And you're expected to get circumcised so that you can tie the knot.
And the parents even refused the dowry.
Yes, the last time I was in class, we were talking about culture and, aspects of culture that we still need to practice, because we are inherently African and we have a culture and tradition, but some are detrimental and need to be stopped. It's the 21st century, for Pete's sake. Then this brings me to a story that has also been captured on the Standard this morning as we come to a close. Now, the pro-teen abortion law has drawn a fresh rejection, and this is from the Institute of Family Health. And it says that the proposed law seeks to ease access to abortion and family planning options. However, according to the Institute of Family Health, says that the bill is unjust, unfair, and corrupted, segregating some human beings in their very delicate stages of development. This is according to Father Pascal Mwakio, the head of the institution. This issue of this reproductive bill has faced a lot of rejection, Jane, from Muslim leaders, the Kenya Christian Association, and pro-human rights agencies. However, it has also received support from some leaders, namely the Nakuru Senator Susan Kihika, as well as Nairobi Women Representative Esther Passaris, who says that the bill would go a long way towards addressing the needs of girls who fall pregnant at a young age. Now, the proposal characterizes adolescents as persons aged between 10 and 17. If this becomes law, the national and county governments will further be compelled to provide free antenatal care, delivery care, and postnatal care for women and girls. I think the spirit of it there, taking care of that free antenatal care, delivery care, and postnatal care for women is good. But now, the issue of, considering a 10-year-old to be of adult age and a 17-year-old, it's a bit taking with one hand and giving with the other. So it remains the same, the equation remains the same, isn't it? 0. 1 minus 1 is 0, not 1.
It's like putting in this pocket with the left hand and then removing with the right hand.
We're still practicing FGM in the 21st century. I mean, goodness Lord.
It's such a sad situation, because even just looking at global stats, it's that there's still an estimated 200 million young girls who are undergoing the cut illegally for that matter, as they are in areas where there's such cultural ties that have refused to just being shed off, because they believe that after you go through this, that is when you are deemed a woman, regardless of your age. And I think it is such a retrogressive practice, and this also contributes to this whole conversation about sexual and reproductive health and rights of our young girls and women, because we are, in as much as we are in the 21st century, we still have young women who cannot make decisions about their bodies, how they seek reproductive health for themselves, and even financial rights, or rather, they're not in charge of their own lives in this day and time because of such retrogressive practices that are being practiced in as much as we say we are in the 21st century, we are moving as a nation, as a world. We still have such problems that are holding us back from living to the best versions of our lives. And I just find it is so sad. And I can imagine this young girl who just wanted to get married to this young gentleman. And they went through the proper channels. They did not say that, in as much as my parents don't believe in marriage before this practice, we will disregard them. Oh no, they still prioritized what their parents thought. Put together a package. This young man, with the support of his parents, put together a nice package, 4 cows, 2 goats, and some money. Tupeleke tukalipe mahari. Only to be told that we will not take anything from you until our daughter undergoes the cut.
I think that young women should be given a chance to make decisions, to make their own decisions, because especially at the age of 21, you're already matured enough. And just taking point from that story that you read, Jane, on the Daily Nation, they had done everything that is deemed right culturally.
Traditionally, yeah.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, culturally, traditionally. So why would you refuse your daughter or this young lady or this young woman to go ahead, and yet they follow the right protocols, they follow the right channels just because of a cut? And this is someone who's of age to make a decision to say either I'm doing this or I'm not doing this. I think it's very wrong. We're living at a time, and I think these are some of the things that make us as an African continent to always lag behind when it comes to matters of development. Because if someone cannot make their own decisions, then are we even developing?
Now, on that question, we'll expect your feedback. Remember, the Kim Kardashian show is set to end. So we take a short break. We'll be right back.
This Thursday on KBC Channel 1 for a program that is objective and offers answers to matters economic, security, social, political, food, infrastructure, and setting the agenda. Join us for Charging Currents.
It is a practice that has been a thorn for this nation for many decades. Watch it on Thursday at 8:30 p.m. only on KBC Channel 1.
People gonna say all kind of things about you.
With them on, just shake up, need to mush you and done to mush you.
Wine your booty, girl, show me now. Baby, one time. Bossy baby, give me 2 times. Full 180. Crazy. Trago y ella la botella. Let's go. Ha. I needed some with some bop in it. Mamacita, where you at? I've been trying to reach you. Choro, 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 choro. Get the pago, get the pago, get the pago. Katoto shepu awe, ayawe, ayawe. Tekenya katoto, kamini tekenya, tekenya katoto.
On the next episode of
hiyo swali ngijibu tutakesha hapa. Nakwambia nitizame kuanzia juu mpaka chini. Hapo. Mimi ukiniangalia mimi nataka kuwa mke wa pili. Mimi aswa, mimi nacheza. Afu nicheze na wewe. Hivi una nini wewe? Hebu toka hapo bwana. Kipenzi cha roho yangu na vile twapendana. Mimi ana roho huyu. Mtaka yote basi ukosa yote. Nyinyi wanaume kwanza hamridhiki sana nyinyi. Hamridhiki kabisa. Tujali kazi zenu
next on
Steve, didn't tell you I'm busy.
Hapana.
So what do you want?
Kwa nini badika kwa kasi huku?
Hapana, lakini kuna venye naona kuna dalili.
Oh, basi hiyo dalili ndio leo tutaenda tukule na tulipage nayo nyumba.
Let's make you sausages.
Yay!
Sungeacha nimfixie juu nikautachelewa wax.
Do you even know your job description here?
What do your duties?
So,
Did you just humiliate me in front of a servant?
Did I?
this weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Kwenye mkulima tuna kipindi kizuri haswa kwa vijana na watoto wa shule.
I also want to engage my classmates and also my friends who I have, and I want them to see that this is important. In fact, when I'm planting those crops, it makes me feel good.
Basi ungana nasi Jumapili saa 9:30 hapa KBC Channel 1. Uone jinsi vijana wenzako wanavyotumia msimu wa corona kwa njia mwafaka.
Minutes past 8, time for our third link this morning. So let's just look at how the Kenyatta Avenue roundabout is looking like, given the fact that still along Uhuru Highway, this is one of the roundabouts that is part of this major highway, which is our focus this morning. You can remember that earlier on, it was beginning to slightly build up, but it was a manageable kind of traffic. If you can remember from how it was looking like, it was just an orange color all through, and it looks like it's quite the same just before you get to the roundabout. And this is just specifically on that lane that is leaving University Way, coming all the way to Kenyatta Avenue, going all the way to Mombasa Road actually. But coming just to the roundabout, this is Kenyatta Avenue roundabout. It is so different from how it was along University Way, because again, looking at the stretch, just the stretch between University Way and Kenyatta Avenue, looking at this specific stretch, it is so different from how it's looking like past Kenyatta Avenue, because on that specific stretch, at least it looks like, yes, there's traffic, but a manageable kind of traffic there, because that's why we're seeing that orange color there. And this is again specifically on that lane that is leaving Kenyatta Avenue, going to the other side of University Way. But past Kenyatta Avenue, coming all the way to Haile Selassie, it is not moving at all. In fact, it is just at a standstill. And the sad part is that this is actually along this entire stretch just before you get to Haile Selassie. So that's why I was saying earlier on, if at all you want to go to the areas of Upper Hill or even Valley Road, then State House Road on the other side of University Way roundabout, is a good alternative route for you, because even as of now, still on that particular stretch, there's no traffic at all. Remember that on that stretch, it is only a road or a stretch that just caters for only private vehicles as well as motorcycles. So oftentimes, that's why we don't really spot the heavy kind of traffic gridlock. And also on that specific stretch, we don't really have a lot of activities in terms of either businesses or even a lot of companies like it is on other roads or even on other major roads. So that is where, again, there's normally no that heavy traffic buildup, and also that is why it can serve as a very, very good alternative route if at all you're going to Valley Road. This is if at all you don't want to make do the traffic along Uhuru Highway on the other side just before you branch off to Valley Road. So look at this again. This has just clearly changed all through. This is on this stretch past Kenyatta Avenue. If you can remember, it was just maroon, indicating that there was no there was no movement at all. But right now things have changed, and I keep telling you all the time that traffic changes every single minute. If you can remember, it was just it was more of the maroon color there, indicator that it's not moving just at a standstill. But now that has changed altogether, and now what you're seeing on even on your screen is a bit of the red color there, what this means is that there's traffic but moving at a really, really slow pace. But just like University Way roundabout, the same is also for Kenyatta Avenue in regards to the traffic police always just being stationed there, trying to see how best they can control traffic. Obviously, the reason as to why we are seeing colors changing here, and they're looking like they're at least trying to see how best they're controlling that traffic there. On the other stretch, though, yes, there's traffic, but again, also manageable kind of traffic. So this is how Uhuru Highway is looking like this morning, and this is actually past the Kenyatta Avenue. In fact, actually past that specific stretch, it is just swift moving, no traffic at all, moving at a really fast pace. Look at this. Just before we continue exploring Uhuru Highway, look at this specific stretch. This is actually now past the roundabout, coming all the way to Kenyatta Avenue on that specific area where the pedestrian walkways and the cyclist lanes have just been put in place. This is actually when you are heading all the way to the city center. Again, actually, when you're leaving the CBD, coming all the way to Uhuru Highway, just the same case as it was on the other stretch. The maroon color there indicating that when you're coming to the city center through Kenyatta Avenue, before you get to the roundabout, then you could look like you actually will be making do with this traffic there, because on this specific stretch, what you're seeing on your screens there on that specific lane, there is no alternative route. So what this means is that if you're coming from CBD through the roundabout going all the way to Uhuru Highway, then you will have to make do with that traffic there. But looking at how this non-motorized transport system has really been coming along, look like it's been aiding in terms of traffic. So yes, in as much as we are seeing heavy traffic build up there, but just before you get to that stretch all the way to the city center, look at that, all green all through. And the interesting bit is that this is actually on both lanes. So it looks like these walkways have really served a good purpose, because one of the reasons as to why they were also put in place is just reduce on the traffic flow. What that means is that instead of pedestrians using the main road, which serves vehicles both public and private, then they have their own specific lanes, which is known as the pedestrian walkway. So it looks like that has been really serving a good purpose, and it has been having a positive impact in terms of the traffic reduction, especially inside the city center, because this is how that stretch is looking like. Slightly past that, before I just bring it to a close, let's see how the other roundabout along Uhuru Highway is looking like. Also just traffic beginning to slightly build up throughout the entire roundabout. So that's how our roads are looking like this morning in terms of traffic along Uhuru Highway, which is our focus.
Nango. Well, welcome back to Good Morning Kenya. We now want to get started with the day's other segments. So right now we want to get started with the trending topic segment before we get into our kids talk conversation all about the digital disruption and especially looking at online bullying and how to best protect our children from online predators. But we will be getting to that in a bit. But for now, let's get into the trending topics. And our first story is one of the stories that was highlighted still on the Daily Nation yesterday. Now, for those who are not with us yesterday in the headlines, let me just give you a brief on how that story was written. So there is one Mr. Sidai. He is the father of now 5 children. So looking at that particular story is that this man stopped a wedding where he claimed that the groom and the bride are both his kids from previous relationships from years ago. Now, he is said to have been in a relationship with the groom's mother, and they unfortunately separated because Mr. Sidai is said to have had an affair, and he left, or rather they separated, when this groom, that is Jotham, was only a year old, and Jotham left with the mom. And in this regard, this guy, Mr. Sidai, was never in touch with the mom or the son ever again until recently. Now, after that relationship did not, it died a natural death, he moved on to try to build up another relationship, and he met another young lady, and they are said to have been in a relationship, but they seem to have a lot of financial constraints, and it also led to so much misunderstandings between the two, and they ultimately went separate ways. And when they did separate, it is said that the wife then was 4 months expectant, but this gentleman is said to have not known. So now here we are. Mr. Sidai went on by the way to remarry, and he had another 3 children. So here now comes this couple, so many years later. They want to get married. They're actually in the church. This young lady is walking down the aisle. Then Mr. Sidai walks in to stop this wedding in the company of his sisters, saying that these two, Jotham and Anne, cannot get married because they are siblings. Now, let's get to the backstory of how they have lived throughout the years. So, according to Jotham, he was told that his dad died in an accident. His mother told him that his dad died in an accident years ago. And according to now Anne, her mother remarried later before she was born, and she grew up knowing that this gentleman, who is said to have also passed on, was her father, who was a teacher. So they did not know their biological fathers. Anne knew the teacher was her father throughout until his untimely death, and Jotham knew his father died in an accident years ago, as he was told by his mom. So years on, Mr. Sidai is said to have been trying to reach out to just get in touch with the kids, know how they have been doing, but all efforts have just been gongaing walls until recently, when he found out that they're getting married through a WhatsApp group that he was told about, because he had acquired some pictures here and there over the years, because actually Anne went to school with his 3 other children. Sema Telemundo.
Telemundo continues.
Continues.
That story gives me shudders. We mentioned it yesterday. I'm still... Can you imagine the trauma? And let's be very honest. This is the 21st century. People meet, court, get intimate without even going to church first, in as much as we want to shy away and say that that is not the right, proper way to do things. This is the reality on ground. So can you imagine if this lady turns out to be expectant?
She will be her own child's auntie, because that is the brother's child, who's also her child. And the thing that really bothered me about this particular story, and especially when the dad is involved, is that he actually said that Anne went to primary school with his 3 other kids from his now most recent relationship. And he actually saw her there, but he never approached. He knew huyu ni yule mwenye niliambiliwa ni mtoto wa nani from the time we were together.
But didn't he say that he was also just trying to reach out to the kids, but the mother was not?
But I mean, here you are. She is in school with your other kids. You can see her, but you still don't make any efforts to just make yourself known.
For me, the blame falls squarely on both the mom and the dad, because as a parent, you're supposed to have open and honest conversations with your children, so that they do not end up carrying or rather paying for your past mistakes. I mean, everyone has mistakes. And if I can quote Okoso Bado when he said, anyone who thinks they are sin, they need to hold up their Bible and tell me if they are clean, you know? No one is clean. I mean, there are mistakes here and there, but what are you doing? Are you passing the buck now on innocent children? Because these are innocent children. I can't even want to imagine the trauma, psychological trauma, that this young man and this young woman are going through at this point when they find out that they're actually blood relatives. Siblings, you know, brother and sister. Incest right there. Unknowingly. It is going to scar them for life. Yeah, and I'm praying my heart of hearts that there is no consequence of that particular union, that they do not get a child that they're not expecting. Because now this is going to bring another spanner into the works. But here I totally blame the father and the mother. Absentee parenting. You know, you're absent from your from your child's life, only for you to reemerge later when things are good or when things are bad. Remember marathon runner Wanjiko's story? What happened when he hit the jackpot and became famous? That's when the absentee father came out and claimed him, saying that this is my son. We've had such issues. Where have you been all along? You may be living out there, but are you supporting these children that you left behind? And are you having these honest conversations with them going forward? Because this is something that they need to know. The issue of you fear judgment, what the society is going to say, or what your child is then going to say about your past relations, well, that's between you and your God, you know? But just make it straight, because you save a lot of pain and anguish among these innocents. It's not the easiest thing to do in the world, but some things need to be done.
And you know, even Dee, before you get to share your thoughts about this particular story, we've talked a bit about the dad, but now looking at the moms in this particular case. And when it comes to being honest, they told their kids, one told the son that your father died and he's very much alive. And the other one just never told the daughter who the biological dad was. I mean, Dee.
You know, I won't say much about that story, and I'll just borrow from what Ray has said, and I totally agree with you, Regina, that this blame squarely falls on both the mom and the dad, because first of all, it was very wrong for the mom who told, you know, the child that your father had died, and she knew he wasn't dead. And for the father, in as much as, yes, he tried to reach out to the children, because in that article, there's a part that specifies that he had tried to, you know, to just get through to the children, but the mom was not allowing. I think there's some also better channels that probably he could have used, because all of this, I feel like all of this that, you know, I tried to get to the child, or I told the child that, the father had died. I told the other girl that, you know, your father who was taking you to school, that this is you actually. I feel like all of this is just excuses. Just what Trey has said, if at all you know you have a child and you went ahead and got married again, tell this child that this is your biological father, but this one is the one who's taking care of you. Or this is your biological mother, but as of now, this is the one that is taking care of you, because it saves these kids a whole lot of issues. Now look at this. They were just in front of the church. See, at kuna party traditional, whereby there were some things that they probably had to cover. They were just probably at that point of almost saying, yes, I do. And then voila. Like, how do you deal? How do you even deal? You've already gone through the hassle of getting all the wedding stuff. You have your wedding gown. You have your bridesmaids. You've paid the vendors. You've invested, man. You've invested a lot. And then at that point of saying, I do. This is your brother. How do you deal?
And you know, my question is, before we get
it was wrong.
Before we get to the altar, there are processes. Ngurario, rorasio, those things, they're there in all our communities, cutting across with different terminologies, I'm sure, because we have different tribes in the country. But there are those processes. You go introduce, this is a person who I want to get married to, mom, that this is, you know, who is, which family, where do you come from? Who is your father? What do they do? Where are they? There are those questions that you're asked when this process
in some communities, even they say, who are your uncles? Like, we just want to deeply know you. So all this was jumped? No, then they got
definitely there? No, I just think they did not have the guts. They did not have the courage to correct their mistakes, and they wanted their children to
pay
suffer
for the consequences. And you know, we're not here to cast judgment or use this moral yardstick to say this is right, this is wrong. But we are grown, and we need to do better as a people. We cannot let our children suffer the consequences of our actions.
Yeah.
And again, I say, if you do this knowingly, ukijua vizuri umeambia mtoto wako baba yako amekufa na ako mahali hai. I mean, we ought to do better. Give that child the chance to decide when they come of age, to decide whether they want to relate with that other parent who has been absent or not. But hey, that is just what I think. We want to hear from you, of course, using the hashtag Good Morning Kenya on Twitter. Tag us on those feeds at Jane Wamboi, at Raymanyara, and at Dorina Range. We're going to be sampling your tweets as we proceed on with this particular program. Now, let's move on to another story. Ladies, so kuna huyu pastor anaitwa Godfrey Mwigwi, anajulikana sana, he's a very controversial pastor. So now he has come out to say that he will not officiate over any wedding until he gets confirmation that the groom has seen the bride without makeup.
You know what I thought you wanted to say?
Because it is turning out that so many marriages are disintegrating because the groom says to have married this person lakini anaona huyu.
Wacha niulize tu swali. Nataka kuuliza swali ya kijinga sana. Are you marrying the face?
Which
So our sound director says it is part of the package. I agree. But
I mean,
the same way, these guys go take a shave, they dye their hair, you know, they work out, they get a six-pack. That time he's looking all that and more during that particular day. So why are you begrudging the woman from having her hair done, her makeup done, her nails done?
And this is a one-time photo shoot.
Yes, one day in lifetime photo shoot. It's your day. I just think this guy was just trying to be relevant.
And given it's a pastor, you guy, ati mimi sifanyi sita officiate harusi yoyote. Baka ugruma niambie nimeona udem bila makeup. Na nafaa kuwa amemwona bila makeup at least by the 3rd week of courtship.
See, they've gone for swimming.
Goja, anafaa kuwa amemwona bila makeup at least. So meaning hiyo day anaweza kuja na makeup. At least ashaimwona na makeup before. Ama what is the storyline?
Sorry?
I'm saying, you're saying that pastor anasema that at least the groom should have seen the lady without makeup.
By the 3rd week of courtship.
So that does not necessarily mean that on that wedding day, anaweza kosa kukuwa na makeup.
Si story nakuwa na makeup siku ya wedding ni he will not officiate any wedding kama husband haja confirm ameona ude bila makeup.
Kuna vitu nyingi sana ningependa kusema lakini this program is rated GE.
So you will reserve your comments.
But coming from a pastor, hebu acha nidishike kama mama. My people.
Nina maswali sana because also this boy child pia anapenda kutuchezea games sana by the way.
Yaani tumefika hadi kuna requirements ya
no, they are neat. When they're going for those dates, they are neat. Their shoes are fine. Akona belt, akona vest safi.
Hata maybe dress ndo amenunua hiyo siku.
Dear Lord. Dear Lord, it is until you have said I do. He doesn't know where his belt is. He doesn't know where his socks are. He's repeating his vest. He doesn't want tuambiane ukweli. Lakini tumesema this is a GE program, GE rated.
Some things would be
but
said.
Boy child, those games that you play, or that the famous one, and this used to happen very much in campus,
Yes.
So someone decides, I'm a sport Jane. Dude, I'm a sport Jane.
Painting.
Maching-ching. So he decides he has to floss and show you the way his boys,
he's got it going on.
Yeah, his boys know he's the OG. So ataomba dio juu yake akona fani mahali, aombe kofia mahali hapo. Hata siku ataenda kinyozi, my friend.
Aombe hadi gari.
Ataomba hadi gari. Ataomba hata kama, you know, floss mode things. All those are superfluous. Now here, a pastor says that he's not going to officiate a wedding because the person dating me hasn't seen me without makeup. Come on. Si anipeleke swimming. Kama anipeleki swimming ataonea wapi sina makeup.
But I mean, what are these
standards
tunaekeana?
Provided it's on my head. And I'll say it once again. Provided it sits on my head. It's my crown. It is mine. It is part of me. It is my hair. Staki maswali.
What I think about all of this is that these are just baseless standards and not
Absolutely.
pointing fingers at whatever church it is, because I also know there's some, religious, if I may say, churches where you're not even supposed to wear earrings, but I won't say which ones. So I feel like all these are just standards that are baseless. Like they don't even have a meaning per se.
Now, our sound director is still arguing and saying hata tusiseme ati wanaume wakuwe na pesa. Pesa ni sabuni ya
Wasikuwe na
roho.
pesa.
Allah. Pesa ni sabuni ya roho. Show me a person who doesn't love money in this country or in this world, then you say women are after money.
And
they love money.
what people get wrong is wanasema ati the love for money is the root of all evils. No.
But sitakula mapenzi, nitakula ugali na yogurt, na then nataka nyama choma.
Actually,
nataka food. You see, I want food, I'll not eat love.
Yes.
Love is good for my soul.
Or
My
your thoughts
soul, I
about me
feel
without
good.
makeup.
Yes.
We'll not put food on the table.
That is it.
But I mean, we need to go back to the good old way of doing good. Ani, it gets to a point hadi pastor anasema ati mimi sitasimamisha harusi mpaka ati umeconfirm ujaona udem na makeup. Come on.
Take me to swimming, you'll see.
Let's go for a break, Jay. Story. We'll be right back with more. Good morning, Kenya.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
It is easy to get impressed by Ashok's words. But do remember, if Ashok ascends the throne, a lot of things will change in your life.
Please forgive me, Acharya. I tried my best. But
Ashok, we always learn more from our failures than our success. Don't ever forget.
No, this is impossible. Ashok can never lose.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
President Uhuru Kenyatta's resolve is to break the old age tradition and end female genital mutilation by 2022.
I was young to know what was going around me.
This week on Project 254.
Zamani alikuwa amenitairisha mama yangu zamani, lakini sasa hii wasichana yangu mimi sijatairisha.
We will deal with FGM as the directive of the president, but uniquely in every county.
Watch it on Thursday at 8:30 p.m. only on KBC.
On the next episode of
Hiyo swali ngijibu tutakesha hapa. Nakwambia nitizame kuanzia juu mpaka chini. Hapo. Mimi ukiniangalia mimi nakaa kuwa mke wa pili. Mimi aswa, mimi nacheza. Afu nicheze na wewe. Hivyo una nini wewe? Hebu toka hapo bwana. Kipenzi cha roho yangu na vile twapendana. Malia ana roho huyu. Mtaka yote basi ukosa yote. Nyinyi wanaume kwanza hamridhiki sana nyinyi. Hamridhiki kabisa.
Tujali kazi zenu
this weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Let me not repeat myself.
You don't have to repeat yourself. The spirit has refused.
Josephine, come in.
This year, huh? Yani, you mean you are not paying rent because you want just to please a woman?
Laugh, my brother. Laugh is a beautiful thing.
You two guys, you have to put stop to this. You are constant eating. I just cleaned this class few minutes and you already soiling it. Mumelongwa.
At least she is genuine about her feelings, unlike some watops here rejoicing chini kwa chini.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
You should never gamble what you can't afford to lose.
All I'm interested in is making money for you and me. Buckets of money.
You're Kenny Shipper.
Paulie, I can't be driving around in no electric limo.
Closer. Don't touch it.
It's just not me, Paul. I've got an image to protect.
Thank you for joining me today, Mr. Riggs.
Well, how can I possibly resist?
Oh, by saying no.
Oh.
My best friend Kenny lost $1.5 million of your dad's money.
What?
I'm wiped out! I just want to be your friend.
I don't need any more friends.
Put it down.
Thank you for keeping us company today. And as we had mentioned earlier, being a Thursday, it's about talking about issues around youth and children. It is the 21st century, and statistics that we have so far received is that coronavirus has pushed the internet usage in Kenya by 200%. And most of the consumers, and the majority of the consumers, happen to be youth and kids. Now, this morning we are asking, what are they consuming online, and is it harmful or helpful? To take us through this conversation where we're looking at online exposure and how we can control that is none other than Timothy Ekesa, who is the executive director of KAK. Good morning, Timothy. How are you?
Good morning, Regina. I'm fine.
Great. Now, you've had that statistics from the Communications Authority of Kenya that has been supported by Textbook. That is how much we're consuming. In light of the current risks, then should children be allowed to access the internet?
Thank you, Regina. I think right now we cannot stop the children from accessing the internet. It is just like we are saying, you cannot stop a bird from flying over your head, but you can stop it from nesting on your head. The truth is that with this new normal, with the COVID, as you rightly said, many of the children have to use internet, either for education, for information. And as they do it, there's the good use of it, but also there's the bad use of it. Obviously, it is bound to be abused. If the children are not supervised properly, they actually are able to misuse it. But we also know that in this country, children are the biggest population. So if you talk about those numbers, maybe half of it or even 60% of it are actually below people 18 years, under 18 years.
Mm-hmm. Do you have, now as a parent, you've said you would not, hinder that because this is the 21st century driven by technology and, matters digital solutions. And how then do you ensure that whatever your child is accessing on the internet is safe?
There are many, I'll actually let one of somebody who has done a lot of work on digital talk apparent is that there are controls. There are controls if we all also try to understand the internet, be able to see the controls that are there that you can be able to put for younger children in order for them not to access particular sites. Also, if you have such a gadget in the house, you can set it in a way that you're also able somehow to monitor what the child is watching and be able to see which sites they get into. You can be alerted. If at all, but it requires a lot of education. I know most of us, we are not so digital, but I think it's high time that we learn so that you can help our children. You can't help children if you actually don't know what they are watching or if you don't know what digital is about. So whichever way, we've been forced also to learn and be able to ensure that we only expose children to what is useful for their education, entertainment, and also for learning, and be able to use it for to make it to be in the best interest of the child rather than being abusive.
Mm-hmm. Now, are the current policies in place and the law effective in ensuring that online safety for children? What do you think?
If there's one thing that we have in this country are laws. The CA Communication Authority has actually done a lot. The KSAT has done a lot. There are many laws that have been put in place, but I think the challenge again comes in their implementation. I know that we've done a lot in the digital world. Kenya, compared to other countries even around us, the laws are there. But the problem is, again, it's about those laws. There are some small booklets that have been made by Communication Authority on safe internet for children, but we are not using them and they are not so accessible. I think it is high time we made these to be like either monthly or weekly, to be able to expose to many parents to know what to do with the internet. The laws are there, the penalties are very high, but the truth is that the implementation, just like other laws in the country, the implementation is really not very good.
Thank you, Timothy, for that overview in regard to what we're discussing this morning. We do not go away. We'll be right back to just give your recommendations on then how we can, get back control as far as internet usage is concerned among youth and children. Now, introducing my second guest for this conversation. Joining me live is Mr. Nyanchama. Good morning to you, Nyanchama. Tell us where you're live from.
Morning, Regina. How are you?
Sorry, excuse me? Come again?
Morning, Regina. How are you?
Great. Good to see you. Good to see you, Madam. I called you Sir, but now I can clearly see it's a Madam. Glad to have you on board. Where are you live from?
Because I know you'll be next.
Kajiado County.
Karibu sana. Kajiado North, Kajiado West, Kajiado which? Pardon?
Kajiado North.
Good. Kajiado North. Now, in light of the current exposures that we've seen and, the traction, the issues, the risks posed by internet usage to children, online molestation, exposure to illegal and harmful content, what is your opinion? Should children be allowed to access the internet?
Admitted.
Now, honestly, the internet comes with its pros and cons. The cons actually outdo the pros. As my colleague Kesa has said, in the recent times that we are in, the 21st century, the cons are actually much more, especially right now during these times when kids are out. They're so much engaged in the internet usage, and the effects have been felt. They're not so good.
Mm-hmm. Then how do we ensure that our children are safe while accessing the internet or using the internet?
We need to teach our kids. We need to be open as parents. Personally, I'd want to be very close to my kids. I'd want to know what they're doing on the internet. I'd want them to trust me to a level of telling me what sites they're engaged in, and so that they can show me the online apps they use, so that I can also get to understand them. That also I'm able to protect them from cyberbullying, sexual predations, and pornography, such kind of stuff that is not really good for the current kids.
Now, what is your opinion in regard to, awareness, sensitization on the risks of internet use and where to report if the worst happens? What is your take?
The first place that these incidences needs to be reported to should be at home with the parents. Yeah, so once the parent is aware of what is happening to the child, then we are able to follow it up, maybe to the police stations. Then I believe there's a law that protects kids. I don't know which one in particular, according to the Constitution, which act, but I believe there is a law that should protect kids.
Mm-hmm. Now, earlier on, our guest there, Timothy, said we have the policies and the law is very clear in regard to this particular issue, and he has pointed to the one flaw, the issue of implementation. Do you share divergent views, or are you in with what Timothy Kesa just said?
I actually agree with what Tim said, so much so.
But then what do we do if the issue of implementation, if we were to be proactive as a parent, as a person who's worked with children, then how then do we change the dynamics within our basic level?
Okay, kindly allow me that Joy handle that. I think she's in a legal position to do that.
Okay, now introducing my third guest there, that is Madam Joy, to just tell us then how then we can ensure that we cede control over the internet and ensure our children are safe while they are surfing on the internet. Good morning, Joy. How are you? Where are you live from?
Good morning, Ray.
Great to see you once again. I know your legal background, and now that you're talking about children, how do we cede power and control, to safeguard our children while they are on the net?
Okay, thank you for that question, Ray. We are live from Machakos, together with our executive director team, and a lot has been said by team in regard to the online safety of children. I will pick it up from where Nyanchama left about the legal provisions, if you allow me to.
Sure.
We have many laws that talk to protection of children, majorly starting with the Constitution, which is the mother law, it's the supreme law of the land. Article 46, it talks about consumer protection. A child is a consumer of the internet and they deserve to be protected under the law. Then down here we come to other specific laws. We have the Sexual Offences Act, which is specific on penalizing people who abuse children, be it on the internet space or even offline. We have a recent act, which is known as the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act. This law came into effect in 2018, but it had been suspended. It had been suspended not until February of this year. So there's a section. This is section 24 that talks about child pornography. Under that section, it covers child pornography, which in child protection we prefer to call CSAM. This is child sexual abuse material. So it makes it an offense. Distribute, to possess, to transfer. Handling child pornography is actually a criminal offense. And we also have another act known as the Data Protection Act, which most of us are aware of. It talks about how do you handle data that involves children. How do you handle information that contains a child's name, child's age, their parents? So the laws is that the problem is implementation. On to your next question, which was on how do we ensure that our children are safe? The way I choose to handle this question is, how do we ensure that children are safe in the offline space? Ignore the online bit at this point. We create awareness, we educate our children, we prepare them for the eventuality. Of course, the internet has no boundaries. It's nothing that happened before that maybe we can relive through our children. We are learning on the go. So we need to educate our children. We need to let them know that there are certain dangers that exist in the internet. The internet is two-edged. There's the good side. I mean, we learn, we see good things, we watch movies, we're able to go to school, we communicate with our friends. But at the same time, there are predators. Just like in the offline space where there are rapists, there are people who can beat you up, there are people who can kidnap you. Behind that screen, behind that laptop, behind that phone, there exists a perpetrator. There's someone who can do harm to you. So if you create awareness amongst children, you let them know that there's danger in the internet, bad things can happen. And again, you let them know when something bad happens in the internet, this is the place you're going to report. So creating awareness, passing that information to our children, equipping them with the knowledge on what can happen and what you need to do when it happens is what will support our situation.
Thank you very much, Joy, for that legal overview in regard to our policies and law safeguarding, or rather making the internet safe for children use. Do not go away. We'll be still coming back to recommendations going forward. Now we want to hear from the young ones in society, and these are the children. As we try to connect with Ruth Oguna from Mombasa County, let me just sample some of your feedback that you're already receiving on our social media platforms. We have Josephine from Kileleshwa, who says children's digital literacy helps them understand and safeguard their safety online. The longer they spend online, more opportunities they get, but also some risks. Younger kids are disproportionate. They are exposed to online risks of harm. Then Telia from Buruburu says digitalization will speed up global development and shape our future, but it is critical that we all know to keep safe in the digital world. It is time to share important skills with children and in our markets. Now, keep these conversations flowing. Remember, our official Twitter handle is at KBC Channel 1 News. Mine is at Ray Manyara. We have at Doreen Arange and at Jane Wamboy. We continue having this conversation. Now, we want to hear from the young in society, representing the youth and the kids during this conversation is Ruth Oguna. Good morning, Ruth.
Good morning.
Great to have you on board. How is Mombasa?
Very hot and windy.
Maybe you should just share a little bit of that sunshine here in Nairobi County. Things are thick. It is very cold, but hey, that is Mombasa City in the sun. Now, it seems we're not getting you quite clear. I don't know why you're blurry. I don't know if it is our setup on this other end or on your end, Ruth. Is there something you can do about the image that you are projecting? Can you make it more finer? Because you appear to be
Let me check.
Yes, on fade. While Ruth is working on her picture quality there, we'll just look at some of the statistics that we have. Now, according to Textbook, regular traffic at the Kenya Internet Exchange Point has recorded a rise up to rises of 57.8 Gbps, that is gigabytes per second. And this has been pushed by the coronavirus disruptions, where people are working from home. We have the digital learning programs right now. So they say that this is something that we're likely to experience up until the pandemic is over. Children and youth also make up a large percentage of those consuming the internet. And there's an emerging digital concept that we've seen, is that the Internet of Things, as well as the fourth industrial revolution, and these are considered game changers. Now we have Ruth Oguna back online, much better. We see you clearer. Thank you for coming on board, Ruth. For those who do not know you,
having me.
Good. For those who do not know you, how about you give us a brief introduction of who Ruth Oguna is?
My name is Ruth Oguna. I'm a candidate. Actually, I don't know if I should say candidate. I'm a candidate. I'm 14 years old. I school in PCM Makupa Academy, and I live in Mombasa.
Good. I like that you still refer to yourself as a candidate amid all this uncertainty about the resumption of schools. It means you're keeping the faith and working on with, catching up with your books. Now, do you think children should be allowed to continue to access the internet given the inherent risks that have already been highlighted here?
I think it is, as much as there is. In everything that is positive, there's always a negative. And everything that is a negative always has a positive. You see, kids tend to become more on the negative side when they aren't taught in a young age what to do with this social media. Like right now, this is the time that parents should be learning how to teach their kids on how to take in social media. If you don't teach me now how to use the social media and the internet, how am I going to learn how to use it when I'm older? So I think it's good for them to learn more on the positive, so that when they grow older, it's not regret for I didn't teach my child this and that.
Mm-hmm. Now, Ruth, are you aware that I hear you're aware that there are risks of being in the internet? In the event that you found yourself in such a situation, then how would you go about it?
Pardon?
If you found yourself in a situation where you are, you are exposed to, bad content, actually issues of sexual exploitation, then how would you go about getting yourself out of that fix? Who would you tell?
My first person, I'm going to tell my mom. She's going to just be always there. We already created a relationship that we don't only take each other as mother and daughter, but you can take each other as friends. Because if I go into such things, I can't run to anyone else. And for her, she'll stop taking it as like that, because she like treats it like I'm mature now. Because like if I go out, it's like she's taking part in teaching me, because there are obviously going to be consequences. So I don't think it will be that much of a problem to me, because you already created this bond. And for me, learning how to use the internet when I was younger was through her, and I don't think I'll ever put myself in such. But if that happens, I'll just go to her. And besides, when you use internet, they likely recommend things that you usually watch. So how do you fall in such when you don't really watch them?
Very well articulated there. Does your mom have your password, Ruth? To your account?
My mom doesn't have my password. She likes having privacy because she doesn't want to incline much, because everyone has their own privacy, everyone has their own thing going on, and she respects that. Yes, she respects our privacy, and I don't think,
Wow. Congratulations, Ruth and Martha Oguna there. You're doing an exemplary job in as far as raising that particular child that you have at home. Ruth, all the best. There's a lot of uncertainty around, the resumption of schools, but I'm sure you're keeping up with your learning. Thank you very much for joining us and giving us your feedback in regard to that particular issue. We continue sampling some of your feedback as we prepare our next guest. Now we have George from Imara, who says it is important to protect children and ensure their well-being. We should first go and talk with them before installing any child-friendly apps. There is no better medicine than human communication. Kids should know how to use the internet responsibly. Then Geshohe from Kikuyu says, as parents, we are also failing our children terribly. We are replacing our presence in their lives with unmonitored internet and gadget use. Now, Real Dad is tweeting on our social media platform saying, stop posting your children, period. Hashtag parenting tips, hashtag social media, hashtag abuse, hashtag stupid. He says parents should stop posting their children on social media platforms. Now, as we work towards closing up this particular segment of Kids Talk, I'd want to introduce my final guest. Yes, Nanchama, you close this forum for us this morning. Now, we've already heard from the children and people who are working with children. From where we sit then, how do we help our children better so that we can make their internet use safer? And Chama, to you, we're waiting for the recommendations going forward, how we can get back our control as parents and as adults in this situation.
Okay, I think to sum up with what my other members have said is the parents, as parents, we need to be very aware of what our kids are doing. We need to teach them, we need to train them. We need to monitor every other thing that they are doing, especially when it comes to matters internet. And we also need to help them, help the kids. We need to be present. We need to be present parents. We need to be present guardians. Let's not substitute our being with the internet. Yeah, just like the last guy that you read from the comments, I think what he says is very genuine and very legit. That right now you find many parents, they are posting their kids on social media. Let's not, as parents, let's not strive to do that, because we're also not building our kids. We're actually destroying them and their future. Yeah, if you can remember from, I think yesterday on something on K24, there's a lady who actually missed out on something, on a job, because of a post she had put up a while back. So you see, these things that we put up on social media, these things that we are using the internet for our own good right now, at the end of the day, in the future, they come to affect us, they come to count us in some way. Yeah.
Thank you very much, each and every person who participated in this conversation this morning. We're just trying to see parental control in light of this is the digital age. Thank you very much, Madam Nanchama, Joy, as well as Timothy Kessa of Cork, and most last but not least, that is Ruth Oguna, who gave her view as a child, a 14-year-old, on the internet use. Now, what is the take home is that the question is, you need to ask yourself as a parent or a guardian, is your child safe while surfing the internet? Well, if you have doubts, you need to monitor what they're getting themselves into. So much is happening out there, and we have a report that shows between the month of March and July, internet use within Kenya has gone up by 200%. I'm Regina Manyara. I wish you a great day ahead, and thank you for keeping us company on hashtag KBC Kids. So keep your feedback coming. Remember, this is Entertainment Thursday, so we are not done and dusted here. Now we shift gears and focus on matters entertainment on the other side of studio with my colleague Doreen Arange.
Na msibabaishwe na yale mnayoyapitia, hata yawe magumu kiasi gani, yote yatapita. La msingi ni kuweka tumaini letu kwa Mungu aliyetuumba. Katika kitabu cha Warumi 5:3, wala si hivyo tu, ila mnafurahia.
Kupata dhiki huleta zaburi. Bonyeza *811 *963#. Bonyeza *811 *963#.
This Thursday on KBC Channel 1 for a program that is objective and offers answers to matters economic, security, social, political, food, infrastructure, and setting the agenda. Join us for Charging Currents.
It is a practice that has been a thorn for this nation for many decades. Watch it on Thursday at 8:30 p.m. only on KBC Channel.
Next on.
Kwamba kuna balaa zingine tuko nazo zinakuja, maradhi kama haya corona, COVID-19, ambayo ni janga kubwa, ni kwa sababu ya madhambi yetu sisi wenyewe. Watu wanafanya madhambi makubwa. Dawa ni kurudi kwa Allah, kufanya taubatan nasuha na istighfaru kwa wingi, na kuacha haramu na kuacha machafu, tusimkasirishe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
On the next episode of
Yovali ngijibu tutakesha hapa, nakwambia nitizame kuanzia juu mpaka chini. Hapo. Mimi ukiniangalia mimi nataka kuwa mke wa pili. Mimi aswa, mimi nacheza. Alafu nicheze na wewe. Hivi una nini wewe? Hebu toka hapo bwana. Kipenzi cha roho yangu na vile twapendana. Mali ana roho huyu. Mtaka yote basi ukosa yote. Nyinyi wanaume kwanza hamridhiki sana nyinyi. Hamridhiki kabisa.
Tujali kazi zenu.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Kwenye Mkulima tuna kipindi kizuri haswa kwa vijana na watoto wa shule.
I also want to engage my classmates and also my friends who I have, and I want them to see that this is important. In fact, when I'm planting those crops, it makes me feel good.
Basi ungana nasi Jumapili saa 9:30 hapa KBC Channel 1. Uone jinsi vijana wenzako wanavyotumia msimu wa corona kwa njia mwafaka.
Welcome back, and many thanks for staying with Good Morning Kenya. The show continues, and being entertainment has we want to go a bit easy and light. We want to talk about matters entertainment, and this morning we have just a cocktail of artists. This is because we'll be speaking to a gospel artist, a patriotic, musician, a patriotic song kind of artist, as well as a secular artist. So they'll just be talking to us about their music, their journey, how it's been like for them this far, when they started, how that journey has been, and just trying to fuse all these three together, and also to try and better understand from their perspective as artists, given the fact that COVID-19 has affected a good number of businesses, as we keep mentioning, and also the music industry, the arts industry has been one that has also been greatly affected by this pandemic. So for them as artists, how has this affected them? What kind of projects have they engaged themselves into, and how is this all coming along for them, and what it is that they're learning all through, all this while. So, Wasani, good morning, guys. I'll start with you, Dr. Wisekin. Good morning. How are you doing? You're fine?
I'm fine.
All right. Now let's just go to Sammy. Sammy, as you try to get your voice. Sammy, good morning.
Morning to you.
All right. Now, before we get to all of that, let's start with the music. Let's start with the music itself. Let's start with Dr. Wise King's music. He is a gospel artist, so let's just listen to his single, his latest single. There it is.
Dear God, tunadedicate hii song mahiro wote walipigania uhuru yetu ya Kenya. I hope mali uko God tawakumbuka.
Wakamshinda koloni tukapata uhuru. Kenya moja yenye amani, sifa nzuri kwa mataifa ya mbali. Kabila lugha 42 kwa ujenzi wa taifa, tuko sote pamoja. Waislamu na Wakristo hatuwezi tengana kamwe. Ni wale waloleta uhuru twawahenzi. Tukapata uhuru. Ni wale waloshikamana wakapigana kuikomboa Kenya. Celebrate, 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 celebrate. Shangilia mashujaa wetu. Nipate mama
is your latest song? Is it your latest song? Your first?
Yeah, my first song. Yes.
So that's what tumekuwa tukisikia hapo. Hebu tuambie about it. What was the whole idea behind that one?
Dunda ilikuwa idea tu ya kujibamba.
Ni ya kujibamba?
Yeah, kujibamba.
But it looks like a gospel track.
Yeah, it's a gospel song, but unajibamba. The idea ya Dunda ni idea yenye tulipata after kufikiria what Mungu ametufanyia katika maisha haya.
Okay.
Yeah.
But also just look at a bit of your bio now you guys, because you're actually a team, you're a group, only that wendo umekuja, but you began by first singing love songs, so meaning mlikuwa wale watu wa R&Bs before you moved to gospel.
Yes.
What brought the shift? Mbona mlimove kwa gospel kutoka, because R&B pia si mbaya?
Sasa ingine unafika time unasema wacha nimwimbie Mungu. Sometimes tu inakuwa unasema, unajua kuimba nyimbo zingine huwa si mbaya, lakini kuna time unasema wacha nigeukie Mungu, nimwimbie Mungu. Yeah, so ilifikia time tukasema tumejaribu huku kote lakini ilikuwa tunapata supporters on the other side, but tukafikia time tukasema wacha try this side ya kumwimbia Mungu. So because Bible inasema ukimtumikia Mungu there is a big reward in heaven. So tukaona hiyo wacha tumwimbie Mungu, and one day it will make it.
Okay, kwa hivyo for you guys ati kulikuwa na a deep meaning, a deep reason, nile tu mlifeel like let's try something else, and then that something else happened to be let's try gospel.
Yeah, okay. That was the idea.
So when was that you guys moved?
Ilikuwa 2017.
2017.
Yeah.
So ideally you've been in the game of the gospel industry for 3 years now.
For 3 years, yeah.
How has it been like?
Haijakuwa mbaya.
Haijakuwa mbaya sana.
Okay. Nashukuru Mungu ametuonyesha njia, ametufungulia milango ambao kama sisi wanadamu hatungeweza. So nikisema mimi mwenyewe huwa nasema it was the right decision to do. Yeah.
Now for you as artists, ni gospel all through, cause tunaona mara mingi sana wasanii, kwanza ule msanii ama wasanii wenye wanavuka kutoka ile upande wa secular wakikuja gospel, mara kadhaa unaona wanarudi back to where they came from. So for you, is it gospel all the way, that's what you've decided, ama tutaona tena mkirudi kule kwingine?
Yeah, sasa ni gospel kwenda mbele.
Gospel kwenda mbele.
That is a decision tulifanya na Mungu alitia muhuri.
Yeah. Mungu alitia muhuri. So God agreed to your decision.
I agree.
Alright.
Where we are from and kwenye tumefika, kuna kitu Mungu ametuwekea katika hii.
Kuna kazi anafanya kwenu.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we'll be coming back to you, Dr. Weisking, in a bit, at least to better understand your kind of genre when it comes to the gospel music. But I want us to move to Sami. Sami, tumesikia wimbo wako ukianza Wale, a patriotic kind of song. Ebu tuambie a bit about that song.
Yeah, Wale ni wimbo. I was inspired by a lady called Evelyn Kimathi. I think Evelyn Kimathi, kama wengi wanamjua, I think she's Dedan Kimathi's daughter. Na she's doing good in the industry. We met her, tulikutana kwa social media.
Okay.
Na I was inspired by what she's doing. Anasaidia watu wa Mau, the elderly people generally. Anawasaidia sana, so that inspired me a lot, and then nikasema sinifanye nyimbo itakumbuka wazee. Wale wazee walipigania nchi yetu ya Kenya. Sababu wazee waliopigania nchi yetu ya Kenya wengi sana wako abandoned, na they should be remembered. They should be remembered in a special way. Kwa mfano tukiangalia familia ya Mwindi Mbingu. Mwindi Mbingu is a freedom fighter wa Kenya. Mwindi Mbingu unaenda unapata kwa familia yake, from his kids mpaka wajukuu, hakuna yule anaweza eka birthday aseme ama celebration, tuseme we are celebrating our hero, our grandfather, our father. Hakuna yule ana uwezo. So mimi nikaona ni njia moja nzuri ya kuwa celebrate wazee wetu waliopigania nchi yetu ya Kenya.
So wimbo Wale ni whole idea is just to celebrate wale
the Mau people.
Okay.
Yeah.
And aside from Wale, do you have another patriotic song?
Yeah.
Gani?
Yeah, no, I don't have another patriotic song.
Ya kwanza.
Yeah, that is the first. But there's a second song coming, a gospel.
Okay.
I'm a gospel artist.
You're a gospel artist.
Yeah.
So hii wale ilikuwa tu celebrate wale wenye walitupigania uhuru,
Hii ni
our forefathers that were there before us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, before we go to the gospel art side of it, because unasema pia ni gospel artist,
Yeah.
do you feel kama artists hii pia ni side wanafaa embrace, unajua sing patriotic songs, because sometimes it's not just about celebrating our forefathers, but it's also appreciating our culture, our Kenyan culture, being patriotic. So do you feel like hii ni side artists pia wanafaa venture more into?
Yeah, hii na feel artists, my fellow artists should venture into this because because kila mtu ametoka kwa familia ambayo ina mzee alipigania uhuru wetu wa Kenya.
Okay.
Na sio tusemi sio, kuna Wakikuyu, kuna Wakamba, kuna everywhere for the 47 counties. Kuna kila mtu alipigania nchi yetu ya Kenya. Na nchi yetu ya Kenya ilipiganiwa na watu kama mimi na wewe. Watu ambao na wale waliopigania wale watu walikuwa they had their own leaders. Wale walikuwa wanawasimamia, kwa mfano Kenyatta, kwa mfano kama sisi hatukuwa pale, lakini kwa mawazo yangu na feel kuwa Kenyatta walikuwa na leaders wao, wale walikuwa wamewasimamia. Sasa we only celebrate those that we know. There are many more. Kuna wengine wengi sana, they are not remembered because they are not in the hawako kwa hatuwajui, hawako kwa history yetu tukisoma. Kuna watu that like Wambugu Nyingi, we don't know Wambugu Nyingi. Not everybody knows Wambugu Nyingi. Kuna viongozi wengi sana, even your grandfather, maybe your grandfather fought for independence, for Kenya's independence. So kama wasanii wengi tunafaa to embrace hii side sana ya kucelebrate mashujaa wetu na our leaders na culture na everything. Yeah.
Okay, so does that mean as much as you're a gospel artist, should we expect more patriotic song from you as an artist as well?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, na plan to do more and more. There are a lot to be done. Kuna watu wengi sana to be remembered, like msanii ni kioo cha jamii kama vile wanavyosema. Na I'm just getting started. Na I feel like in future nitadu music poa. Like kuna vitu mob sana za like sasa naweza tunga wimbo, kesho naweza amka nitunge wimbo niimbe like kuna madam alifaitia freedom anaitwa Jane Muthoni. Jane Muthoni was sexually assaulted.
Okay.
There is someone else not remembered, anaitwa Nzili, somebody Nzili. Nzili was castrated during that era. So naweza amka kesho niimbe nyimbo ya zile mateso walipitia. So I'm planning to do more patriotic songs.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I want to come to Wise King in a bit, but before I get to do that, Sami, reception ilikuwaje? Because tunasema tu is not an area that most artists have ventured into. Na umetupatia reasons zako as to why you feel like artists at least should try and do more patriotic songs. But that's your first single, Wale. How was the reception like on social media? Kenyans, how did they receive it?
Like I said, sija kuwa kwa social media sana. I'm not a fan of social media. Okay. Sija kuwa sana pale. Kwa hivyo what I can say is that I'm just getting started kwa both sides, kwa usanii na social media. Mimi sija kuwa kwa social media sana. Nimekimbizana sana na maisha na vile familia yangu itakula na mambo mengine. So watu wameipokea lakini hawajaipokea vizuri sana. Yeah.
All right. Now let's come to Wise King. Tunaongea about reception and releasing of songs from artists. Now ulituambia earlier on you were a secular, you were doing R&B before you ventured into gospel. Your first single with your partner Dunda. How did guys receive it, given that now una move to another side?
Wakati tulichange kuwa secular to gospel.
Yes.
Ilikuwa hard time sana. Kuna wale mashabiki ilikuwa tumepata kwa secular. Kuna wale walisema si mnaenda huko mtazana kweli huko. Tukasema sisi tumeomba Mungu na Mungu amesema hii ndio njia ambayo tunaweza kufanya na tutafanikiwa tu. So we tried the first song Dunda tukafanya in 2017 but hatukufanya video hiyo time. Tukafanya video 2019. 2019. So after tumefanya video watu walishangaa venye tulikuwa tumetokea na huo how tulitokea. Watu walishangaa sana wakasema kumbe mnaweza. Tulipata support. Iliweza. Okay. Tukapata support tukaambiwa kila mtu alisema. Ndio maana mara kwanza nimesema Mungu alipiga muhuri.
Okay.
So after kutoka kule kukuja kwa gospel, tumeona mabadiliko, mafanikio kidogo hivi. Watu wametujua, watu wanatusupport. Yeah.
Yes. That's nice. So unaweza sema at least haikuwa that bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
which is also a good thing.
Yeah.
Inawapea tuseme motisha.
Inatupea nguvu sana.
Okay. All right. Now, also another thing is that you guys as a band, your motive is to become the biggest band in Africa and even the entire world.
Yes.
Na so far it's been 3 years in the gospel industry. Na mara mingi kuna mtafaruku mingi sana especially kwa hii industry. How are you guys planning to do that kwa hii gospel?
Yeah. Kwanza we have a brand wa Falme Classic.
Okay.
Falme Classic imetengenezwa na mimi Dr. Wise King na Kenyan Starboy. He's not here because ya sababu hatuwezi kuepuka, but tuko na plans mob sana. Hii brand tuna plan siku moja kuwe brand kubwa sana, kama vile our model ni kama ni Diamond Platnumz venye amefanya Wasafi. Is our role model for now. So tunataka kufanya hii brand ya Falme Classic, tusaidie vijana wenzetu waendelee mbele. Kuna talent mtaani sana, talent nyingi tumeziona, mpaka si wenyewe huenda mtaani tukawa huyu kijana na talent, but ile support ya kufikia mahali anataka, hiyo ndio shida. So tumefanya hiyo idea ya Falme Classic ili siku moja pia sisi tuweze kusaidia wenzetu wafikie mahali kwenye wanataka. Yeah.
Kwa hivyo so far ni vijana wangapi mmesaidia, sema maybe kufika hata kama si pale sana, but at least kufika somewhere?
Yeah, so far tumefanya kama vijana wawili hivi.
Kama vijana wawili hivi.
Vijana wawili tumewasaidia.
Na pia hao kuna wimbo wame-release?
Bado haja-release. Ndio tuko kwa plan sasa hii.
Okay. Ndio mko kwa plan sasa hizi. Aya. Now, Sami, umesema pia wewe ni gospel artist.
Yes.
Right?
Okay.
So uko na any single? Ama bado?
Niko na single ya gospel lakini sija shoot video.
Haina video bado.
Yeah.
Nini nataka tu tueleze nini ambayo inafanyanga wasanii? Mara mingi unapata msanii either secular ama gospel ama hata contemporary artist anasema niko na audio kadhaa but video bado. Shida inakuanga wapi?
Shida ni pesa.
Shida ni pesa.
Shida ni pesa usumbua wasanii. Lakini na wasanii wengi hawajitumi.
Kwa hivyo pia shida ni kujituma.
Shida ni kujituma na pesa. Kwa sababu kama hauna pesa huwezi toa video.
Okay.
Yeah.
So hii ni wimbo gani ambao uko na audio already which is a gospel song? Tell me about it.
Hii ni nyimbo ya gospel inaitwa Tenda, na ni nyimbo inazungumza kuhusu vile Mungu ametenda. Mungu ametutoa from kutoka sehemu moja to sehemu nyingine.
Title ya wimbo ni
Tenda. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeye ametenda. Well. Sasa ni Mungu ametusaidia. Kwa mfano kama si Mungu amekusaidia ukafika mahali upo, ni nani ingekuwa amekufikisha mahali upo?
Kweli hakuna.
Kama uamini waganga na uamini mambo ya mazingaombwe, ni nani angekufikisha mahali upo? Si ni Mungu?
Ni Mungu tu.
Kwa hivyo Mungu ametenda kwa kila njia.
Mungu ametenda kwa kila njia. Sasa nataka tu utuimbie a line or two ya hiyo wimbo tuisikie tu, pia si tupate a feel of it tukingoja video.
Okay.
Tuimbie jamani.
Upendo wake wa ajabu haulinganishwi kamwe, majina yake hadharani, ni Mungu wa kweli, Jemedari, Generali, Daktari, halinganishwi, atoshanishwi, abadiliki jana na leo, amenitoa mavumbini, kanifuta machozi, leo ninacheka nikisema asante, nacheka nikisema asante, yeye amefanya yeye ametenda yeye amefanya oh, shindwi ashindwi, ashindwi. Yeah.
Kijana vocals. Nataka tu tuambie before tuende kwa Wise King, kuna kwanga na hii idea especially for artists. Unaona, or someone who uses their voice for whatever capacity, kutengeneza sauti. Wengine wanasema wanakunywa ndimu, tangawizi, sauti kuwe sawa, vocals ikuwe pale. For you, how do you go about it? How do you train your vocals? What do you do as an artist?
Mimi kwanza, mimi ni guitarist.
Wewe ni guitarist pia?
Yeah.
Kwa hivyo you also play instruments?
Yeah.
Okay.
I play guitar. Na believe guitar imenisaidia upande wa vocals. Kwa wakati unaimba, kama unacheza guitar, inakusaidia cause unajisikia mahali unaenda wrong. Mahali sauti yako haingiani vizuri. Unajisikia, mimi guitar imenisaidia na nimeanza muziki kitambo. Since I was in class 7, I've been playing guitar. Ndio nilianza kucheza gitaa.
Okay.
Hii ya kufanya ya kwanza kuimba, kutunga, nikajua naweza tunga na naweza imba, ilikuja nikiwa form 2, that was in the year 2007. Na gitaa imenisaidia sana kwa upande wa vocals because nikianza kucheza gitaa sikuwa na vocals, lakini imenisaidia.
So for you, see at easy is a concussion tunasikianga nyingi, for you it's actually guitar that inakusaidia for the vocals.
Sijatumia hizo.
Hujatumia hizo.
Sijatumia.
Aya. Now, Wise King, Sammy said something about artist kujituma, saying that sometimes the challenge, especially with artists, whether gospel or whichever way, inakwanga wasanii huwa hawajitumi sana. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. I strongly
kwa mtazama
agree.
Upi?
Unaona, hata ukiwa na doo ya kutoa video, kama utajituma, you are doing nothing.
Na hii kujituma, tukisema kujituma, nini mnamaanisha nini exactly? Where specifically, Wise King, inamaanisha nini kujituma?
Kuna strategies msanii anafaa kuwa nazo.
Okay.
You have to know your goal, kwenye unataka kuenda. Your goal, unataka kuenda wapi? Je, unafanya muziki ufike wapi? Unajua kuna ile mtu anafanya muziki tu apate sifa mtaani watu, lakini kuna ile mimi nasema nataka kufanya muziki wangu ufikie kiwango fulani. Na una set goal. Kwa mfano sisi Wafalme Classic tumesema we want to go somewhere wenye tunaweza kusaidia wenzetu wafike level yenye, yani waweze kuuza muziki wao pia, hao talanta zao zionekane. Okay. Na si muziki peke yake, si kuimba, dancing, kama unacheza, kama unachora, zote ni talanta hizo. So kama hauna strategy ya kuwa unasema mimi nataka, kama mimi nachora nataka nifikie mahali fulani, kuchora kiwango changu kifike level fulani, then you are doing nothing. So kitu ambacho watu wanalaki huwa ni ile mtu anafanya muziki sababu ameona fulani anafanya muziki. So yeye anafanya tu muziki, anaweka kwa simu, akiona beste anampea tu nimefanya song basi hapo. So kujituma, kama Sami alivyosema, kujituma ni muhimu. Kuna ile unasema unatafuta you go unatafuta strategies, kama hujui kitu unauliza, kama msanii mwenzako mwenye amepita unamwambia hey brother, mimi nimetoa song na dream yangu ni kitu fulani, je naweza kufikia vipi malengo yangu? Unaona? Na kama ni kutoa video, tafuta kuna watu wengi wanaweza kukusaidia kufanya video. Na hata mara nyingi si pesa watu wanahitaji. Wakiona talent yako, just show your talent and leave the rest to God. Onyesha talent yako, onyesha kwa mimi naweza hapo. Ukionyesha kwa naweza, kuna watu wengi wanaangalia talents. Kuna watu wengi kama sponsors wako wengi sana. So just look, wewe kazi yako ni kuonyesha tu unaweza. Yeah.
I like that statement that mara mingi sio kuangalia pesa, talent tuiweke pale, mtu ataiona alafu pesa itakufuata. Si ndio hivyo?
Ni hivyo ya.
Haya. So nitataka utuimbie tu a line or two about your song Matatizo. My director said that it's already ready, but before that wacha nisikie mtazamo wa Sami na hii kujituma labda inamaanisha nini, ndio at least watu wana watch pale wasanii wata understand maybe it's not just about the goal but kuna another aspect of kujituma. So Sami, when you say msanii kujituma, kwa mtazamo wako unamaanisha vipi?
Kwa mtazamo wangu, kitu moja unafaa uelewe kuwa kuna msanii na kuna shabiki wa muziki.
Kuna msanii na kuna shabiki.
Kuna shabiki.
So those are two different things.
Yeah, shabiki anaweza toa muziki, anaweza tunga muziki mmoja na muziki mzuri kwake ukakuwa mzuri, lakini ukawa ni muziki wa kusikiza kwa nyumba.
Lakini ametunga na ameutoa.
Na ametunga na ameimba, lakini yeye ni fan. Anapenda muziki, lakini si msanii.
Okay.
Haya, sasa kuna msanii. Kuna msanii sasa ni anaweza tunga, anaweza imba vizuri, anaweza hata tuseme anaweza cheza instruments. Na shida yetu sisi wasanii ni kitu moja. Ni moja.
Gani hiyo?
Sisi tunaamini tukitoa mziki mmoja ni pesa sasa inakuja. Kuna pale hapo nyuma kuna kile mtu anafaa kufanya. Lazima ujitume. Ile vile nilivyosema unafaa ujitume. Unaweza kuwa na talanta lakini ukikaa na talanta yako kwa nyumba nani atajua? Lazima ujitume. Kama hauna hela na una talanta, utaenda tembea kwa studio. Unaweza tembea kwa studio, producer akasikia nyimbo yako na akakusaidia, akaamua kukusaidia. Unaweza saidiwa pia. Lakini shida yetu ni hiyo tu, nimesema sisi hatujitumi. Tunataka tutoe nyimbo ikuwe nzuri, tupe marafiki zetu wasikize. Watuambie nyimbo ni nzuri, watusifie, lakini mwisho wa siku tunabaki pale. Umetoa wimbo lakini hamna kitu.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kwa hivyo tunaagiri that wasanii wanafaa kujituma na si pesa kwanza. Acha pesa ikufuate. Aya, Wise King, your song Matatizo. Tell us a bit about that before we get to listen to it.
Matatizo ni song nilipata just corona ilipoanza.
Okay.
Kulikuwa na vitu vingi vilikuwa vinatokea sana venye vilishika moyo wangu. Watu walikuwa watu wengi wali lose job zao. Watu wakafukuzwa kwa manyumba. Niliona tu kwa media. Watu walifukuzwa kwa manyumba, ukaona watu wanateseka. So nikakaa nikafikiria idea gani nitatumia ambayo itapoesha mioyo ya wanadamu. Sababu wanadamu kama msanii wa gospel unafaa kama ni uwe na kitu kama advice unaweza kupea wenzako wakati wako chini. So nikafikiria nikasema Mungu nipatie song ambayo itaweza kutuliza, yani itaweza kushika mioyo ya watu. So the idea Matatizo came. And the idea ilikuwa niambie watu ile matatizo mnayopitia saa hii, hata kama ni hii imeletwa na hii corona, imeletwa na COVID-19, but mjue one day itakuisha tu. That was the idea.
The idea is that regardless of what happens now, keeping in mind that tuko time ya COVID-19, itapita tu.
Itapita tu.
Matatizo ni kwa muda.
Ni kwa muda tu.
Okay. Now I'll be coming back to you guys in a bit, but before we get to do that, I just want us to play Dr. Wise King's song that is Matatizo to get a feel of what he's explaining to us. Take a look. Mr. Director, Matatizo.
Touch on the beat. Matatizo umpata mwanadamu wakosela kufanya, uvunja moyo, kutoporukushani na kukosa mana. Kwanza kutegemea, nilimtegemea mama yangu, tatizo likatokea, kanielekeza kwa baba yangu. Nani atatatua? Baba na ila mshindaga, kucha kutwa nalia na kukesha kwa waganga. Jawabu bado, magonjwa bado, umaskini bado, ndiyo kwanza nalia. Kwenye uvuli wa mauti, ndugu zangu nikatembea, wakasema nikaze buti na malengo nitafikia. Nichunge na matendo, niishi kwa upendo, nepuke na maskendo, dhoruba itatulia. Nichunge na matendo, niishi kwa upendo, nepuke na maskendo, dhoruba itatulia. Matatizo unayopitia ipo siku yatakwisha, usife moyo, ni ya muda tu, ipo siku yatakwisha. Matatizo unayopitia ipo siku yatakwisha, usife moyo, ni ya muda tu, ipo siku yatakwisha. Shida zilipozonga nikaomba tu, huku nikiamini yatapita tu, nyoka zikaniuma katazama juu. Mke wangu sina pesa akadanga tu, ikawa ni aibu mbele za watu, ila sikufa moyo nikaomba tu. Yani nusura nikome, huku kumwamini Mungu, kuchwa mawazo mazonge, ukiongeza na majungu. Nimelaniwa pengine, ama nizidishe sala zangu, mana milango imefungwa, aifungue Mungu wangu. Nichunge na matendo, niishi kwa upendo, nepuke na maskendo, dhoruba itatulia. Nichunge na matendo, niishi kwa upendo, nepuke na maskendo, siku yatakwisha, usife moyo ni ya muda tu, ipo siku yatakwisha, matatizo unayopitia, ipo siku yatakwisha, usife moyo ni ya muda tu, ipo siku yatakwisha, usijali yatakwisha, usife moyo yatakwisha, ombe jalali yatakwisha, atabadili hali yatakwisha, usijali yatakwisha, usife moyo yatakwisha, ombe jalali yatakwisha, atabadili hali yatakwisha.
Great song there by Wiseman Matatizo, just talking to us about the things that we should put aside, that is not that serious, that we're going to get through after this. Now, Wise King, before we went to that musical break, you were saying something about advice, you know, and also the fact that it's very important for people to get that. Now, for you, even when you're starting and when you venture to the gospel side, did you have mentors, watu wenye walikuwa wanatembea na nyinyi wanaambia sasa hapa vitu zinafanywa hivi, hapa kunaenda hivi? Hebu talk to us about that.
Yeah. Mimi tulipoacha kuimba secular, I was doing with another producer. So nikapata producer mwenye alinitafuta. Yeye alinitafuta, anaitwa producer Tash. Alinitafuta akaniambia nimesikia song zako, unaweza. Nilikuwa nimefanya Dunda, akasema njoo tufanye kazi moja, niko na kazi ambayo nataka tufanye sote. Hiyo idea ya Dunda, akaniambia just come to my studio, nimeona potential kwenu nyinyi kama Wafalme Classic, kujeni kwa studio tukafanya hiyo. So the first person mwenye aliona talanta yetu is that producer Tash. Yeah, wa Morning Star Records. Yeah.
So yeye ndo alikuwa kwa mfano anatembea na nyinyi,
yeye ndo amekuwa as the whole thing, this thing is in our journey.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Now for you Sammy, what about you? Because mara mingi sana kwa artist utakuja unasema moja muziki nafanya ndiko hivi nafanya hivi, lakini unapata wengi wao hata wana hawa mentors, hawana watu wa kuwa guide, kuambia like industry, this is how it works, this is how you do things and all of that. So for you as an artist as well, did you have this? Did you have mentors, Sammy?
Yeah, for me, mi nimekuwa mse wa kanisa, na nimekuwa kwa praise and worship ya church, na ndio nikakaa pale church naimba nini, nikaona nafaa kurekod. Ndio nilikuwa kwa Facebook nikakutana na mse anaitwa Rosafi. Rosafi akanipeleka kwa studio yake.
Okay.
Ya producer ni DB Saik. Tukaenda tukafanya mziki. After that kufanya huo mziki tulifanya gospel. Kufanya gospel ndo nikafanya nyimbo ya pili. Ndio sasa kwa issue yako ya nini ya kama mtu alikuwa na mentor. Ndio nikakutana na mse anaitwa Touch. Nikaunganishwa na jamaa anaitwa Touch. Anafanya mambo na mseto mtaani.
Okay.
Sasa huyo ndiye amenimenta zaidi. Namshukuru. Yeah.
So for both of you, at least you agree that there was someone who was working with you, you know, through this journey.
Yes.
Okay. Now, tukiangalia wasanii wa sasa. Kwanza pale gospel, and you know, it's a good thing that both of you are gospel artists, so at least we get a better point of view. Tunapatanga sana watu wakisema wasanii wa saizi hata vile wanaandika nyimbo zao iko so different from how wasanii wa kitambo walikuwa wanaandika nyimbo zao. Like unapata watu wanasema hakuna message. We can't see the content. They're just there for the fame, for the money. Wise King, what do you think about all of this?
Yeah. Ni kweli ina happen. Kuna wenye wamechange.
Okay.
But for me naona nime maintain message. All my songs zina message. Kuna wenye kuna songs hazina message for real. Kuna tu songs watu wanafanya za kujibamba. Hata ukiangalia songa hata Mungu hahusiki katika hiyo song. So but kuna venye sisi wasanii tunafaa tuangalie watu ya hasa gospel artist, tunafaa tuangalie tukue kioo cha jamii. Kama umeamua kuwa gospel artist, then be a gospel artist. And people should, kama utaandika song ya kuadvise watu, kuna songs hautataja Jesus, hautataja God, but kuna kitu utasema, utapeana mtu ushauri ambao kazi ya Mungu pia ni akiona unafanya ushauri, unamshauri mtu afanye ako kwa matatizo kama vile, ama anafanya kitu ambayo haitakikani katika jamii, umemshauri vizuri, amefuata njia vizuri, then katika mbingu you have a space. Yeah.
So what I'm getting from you, wise man, is that for a gospel song, si lazima ikuwe na jina God ama Jesus, because sometimes kuna hiyo argument that for this to be a gospel song, mbona sisiki Jesus, mbona sisiki God? So for you are arguing differently?
Okay. Mimi naona tu hata ukimshauri mwanadamu mwenzako, mshauri do this. Hata kwenye Bible kuna watu wameshauriwa. Kuna watu wamekuwa na shauri watu. So ukishauri mwenzako, that is gospel.
Okay. Now, for you as an artist also, do you write your own songs? Do you compose them, or someone else writes for you? And what is your greatest inspiration? What inspires your writing?
Mimi, for myself, as Wafalme Classic, tunaandika song wenyewe. Tunaandika song wenyewe.
So you are your own writers?
Yeah. Okay. Plus our main mwenye anatumenta sana mwingine ni director KMO.
Okay.
So yeye akinotice any idea, is a director anakaa tu Nairobi hivi. Yeye akiona pengine idea fulani, amefikiria a script fulani ya idea, anaweza kutuambia, hey jamaa, nimepata idea fulani ambayo tunaweza kufanya video nzuri kali, so sing about this thing, kama sing about matatizo, sing about kama kutenda wema, sing, yani anatupatia, tukienda studio sisi tunaandika wenyewe, lakini ametupatia topic.
Okay. Yes. Now, what about you, Sammy? For you, do you write your own songs, and what is your inspiration behind the song that you write?
Yes, I do. Naandika muziki kulingana na maisha.
Kulingana na maisha.
Yeah, kulingana na maisha. Ikiwa ni gospel,
okay, naandika
muziki wangu kulingana na maisha. Yaani ile kitu inatokea. Kama saa hii kuna pesa na kuna kiburi. There is money and pride. Na vile ulikuwa umeuliza hapo mwanzo, wasanii wanabadilisha message katika nyimbo zao. Kama anaimba gospel, anabadilisha, mwisho wa siku unapata ile nyimbo ina message kama vile alivyokuwa pale mwanzo. Pengine hata mimi kesho nitakuwa hivyo, siwezi jua. Na vile nimesema kuna pesa na kiburi. Pesa ikishaingia, kama wewe ulikuwa msanii, ulikuwa humbled sana, pesa imeingia, na tuseme kama ulikuwa unaficha kiburi, kitajitokeza tu. Kitatokea kwa muziki wako ule unafanya. Na mwisho wa siku utapata umebadilika. Kwa mfano pia ukitembea na mtu ambaye anakunywa pombe na wewe haunywi, siku moja utataka kuionja. So ni hivyo tu. Muziki hauwezi tabiri. Ukasema kesho wewe utafanya muziki hivi na hivi na hivi. Kuna pesa itakuja tu. Pengine utabadilishwa na pesa, utakuwa na rafiki mwingine mwenye mawazo tofauti na yako, atakubadilisha pia. Kwa hivyo mimi naweza advise wasanii wenzangu, kama unafanya muziki na unafanya gospel, wache muziki wako, wache ukawe ni muziki. Usifanye muziki sababu umeona mwenzako anafanya. Fanya muziki sababu ni kipaji ambacho ulipewa na Mungu, na uko directed kufanya gospel. Kama sio gospel, fanya ile ingine secular. Fanya.
So chagua unataka kukua watu, sikuwe tu kila mahali. Okay. Now, as we finish the conversation, Tanza na wewe Sami, what are your future projects?
Future projects ni kufanya muziki mzuri, nifanye gospel nzuri.
Kuna ngoma tuna expect from you?
Yeah?
Kuna ngoma tuna expect?
Hiyo Atenda na kuna Najua.
Okay.
Hizo mbili.
Okay. So future projects just to do more music and more music.
Future projects to do more music, na wacha niseme tu kidogo, kuna wakati nilikuwa naishi kule Mombasa. Na nikaanzisha initiative. Na initiative yangu ilikuja ikaisha sababu sikuwa na support, na plan in future nitaendeleza.
Okay.
Vizuri, yeah.
All right, fair enough. What about you, Wiseman? What are we expecting from you as an artist? Any future projects, any future songs?
Yeah. Sasa tuko na video tumeshoot just like last week.
Okay.
Inaitwa Tenda Wema. So pia hiyo ni song ya kuadvise watu. Okay. I like advising. That is my nature. Ni msewa kuadvise watu sana. Hiyo ni nature yangu. So after matatizo kuna song nyingine inaitwa Tenda Wema. We are yet to release it soon, sometime soon. Paka niongee na management wangu tuone tutawaeleza. But kuna Tenda Wema, Yes I Do, video zote ziko ready and we are dropping them anytime soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, fair enough. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us this morning. Tunashukuru.
Yeah, thank you too.
At least thank you so much for talking to us about the music industry, your journey, how it has been like for you, and that is how we want to bring this Entertainment Thursday conversation to a close. I was speaking to Dr. Wiseman and Sammy, who are both gospel artists doing their music, and we want to wrap it with a song again from Wisky, one of his latest single. But from that point, from me and on behalf of the entire team that made the show a success, we say thank you so much for watching all through this week. Till next week, join us for another edition of Good Morning Kenya. My name is Doreen Arange. Good morning, and I leave you with Dr. Wiseman's latest song. Take a look.
Mwanadamu wakosela kufanya, uvunja moyo, kutoporukushani na kukosa mana. Wa kwanza kutegemea, nilimtegemea mama yangu, tatizo likatokea, kanielekeza kwa baba yangu. Nani atatatua? Baba na ila mshindaga, kucha kutwa nalia na kukesha kwa ganga. Jawabu bado, magonjwa bado, umaskini bado, ndiyo kwanza nalia. Kwenye uvuli wa mauti, ndugu zangu nikatembea, wakasema nikaze buti, na malengo nitafikia. Nichunge na matendo, niishi kwa upendo, nepuke na maskendo, dhoruba itatulia. Nichunge na matendo, niishi kwa upendo, nepuke na maskendo, dhoruba itatulia. Matatizo unayopitia, ipo siku yatakwisha. Usife moyo, ni ya muda tu, ipo siku yatakwisha. Matatizo unayopitia, ipo siku yatakwisha. Usife moyo, ni ya muda tu, ipo siku yatakwisha. Shida zilipozonga nikaomba tu, huku nikiamini yatapita tu. Nyoka zikaniuma katazama juu. Mke wangu sina pesa akadanga tu, ikawa ni aibu mbele za watu, ila sikufa moyo nikaomba tu. Yani nusura nikome, huku kumwamini Mungu, kuchwa mawazo mazonge, ukiongeza na majungu. Nimelaniwa pengine, ama nizidishe sala zangu, mana milango imefungwa, aifungue Mungu wangu. Nichunge na matendo, niishi kwa upendo, nepuke na maskendo, dhoruba itatulia. Nichunge na matendo, niishi kwa upendo, nepuke na maskendo, dhoruba itatulia. Matatizo unayopitia, ipo siku yatakwisha. Usife moyo, ni ya muda tu, ipo siku yatakwisha. Matatizo unayopitia, ipo siku yatakwisha. Usife moyo, ni ya muda tu, ipo siku.
Dear God, tunadedicate hii song mahiro wote walipigania uhuru yetu ya Kenya. I hope mali uko God tawakumbuka.
Wakamshinda koloni, tukapata uhuru. Kenya moja yenye amani, sifa nzuri kwa mataifa ya mbali, kabila, lugha 42. Kwa ujenzi wa taifa tuko sote pamoja, Waislamu na Wakristo hatuwezi tengana kamwe. Ni wale waloleta uhuru, twawahenzi, twawahenzi, yeah, yeah. Ni wale wazee wa kale walipigana, ni wale waliomwaga damu tukapata uhuru, ni wale waloshikamana wakapigana kuikomboa Kenya. Celebrate, 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 celebrate.